All right, guys. Let it focus. The Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9, baby. Steelbook. Probably the best Star Wars film ever made to some. To most, probably not. Maybe to one of our guests tonight. I don't know. He's with me. That's why I brought him on. Steelbook, baby. It's going to be legit. PJ's favorite film. Probably Lael's too, from what he told me. Slow zoom in. Baby, it's going to be... guys, it's on. I don't even know what else to say. Look at the back of the Steelbook. Ray. Look at the fight. Sick, right? All right, let's get into it. Intro, baby. Count. Not the full thing, though. Hold on. Oh, there we go. There's the groove. What's up? See, if Optical was here, he would have said 10 out of 10 intro. 10 out of 10. Standing applause. What do you think, Mario?
I'll give you a good 7.5, man. That was
I'll take it. I'm passing at that point.
Yeah. I mean,
I'll take it, man. You felt the enthusiasm at least, right?
That's all that matters, dude. That's great.
It's all about the effort, dude. It doesn't matter about the results. A for effort in this chat, right? So, guys, we are so happy tonight because you know Lael, you know Mario, you know the beards. Okay, those guys' beards, they're legendary. But you don't know
Mario's
Brendan
the king.
yet.
Oh,
You don't know Brendan yet. This guy, I mean, we won't talk about Last of Us 2.
It's not as full as it used to be.
We won't talk about Last of Us 2 yet because we're gonna save that for another discussion. But Brendan, dude, so happy to have you on tonight, man. Thanks for joining. And do you want to do a quick introduction, real quick?
I wake up in the morning. I piss excellence. That's what I do. I don't like run a YouTube channel. I mean, I have one, but like it's more just that I haven't used in years, to be honest, because I mostly use Vimeo. I work in video. I have my own video business, so that's why, like, you know, when you asked me, I was like, shit, all my video gear is packed away for a shoot tomorrow. I have one light, so I'm just doing that in a webcam and Raycons. But yeah, I'm a member of a bunch of the same Facebook groups as everybody else. I'm often attributed correctly and sometimes unfairly as an enabler for Lael. But yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I always have been. And I think I line up a little bit more with Will on tonight's topic than I do Lael. But I don't know where you stand, Mario. But if you're right, then you'll stand with us. So.
I don't know if that's a crowd you want to be in, Brendan. Oh
hell no! See, yeah. I love when people come at me. Just great, come on.
I think you and I are going to be in sync tonight, which I love because usually we're not. So I feel like tonight, like I'm so glad we're finally on the same page.
But even when we disagree, and this is what I love about like this group and stuff is because we can disagree and we can bust balls, and then we can also be like, you know what, I disagree with you, but you raise a good point.
Exactly.
We've had that more than one occasion. What drives me nuts is when people are just so entrenched that they aren't. You don't have to change your opinion, but you can at least acknowledge that somebody else made a valid point and say, okay, I see how somebody could look at it like that.
Exactly.
Fandoms can be the best thing, and they can also be super toxic because people just kind of dig in and they won't acknowledge anything else.
Yes.
And you guys, Lael, you have every right to be wrong, and I'll let you do that. But
I like this guy already, Lael.
Let's just,
I love Brendan's confidence.
I know.
But people just have to, be open to other arguments, and when you do that, this is fun as shit.
Yeah.
If you don't, it takes all the fun out of it. It's just not worth doing anymore.
Right.
Exactly.
Dude,
Exactly.
Awesome introduction, Brendan. But Lael, how you doing tonight, man? I gotta hit you next.
Bro, I'm doing good. I mean, I'm happy to see this bastard in this show. Like, I'm looking down at him right now because he's right below me. It just makes me feel like we're on the Brady Bunch right now.
That I'm below him on the.
You're right there. But I mean, seriously, like after the day I've had, like this right now is pretty much a moment for me, and I'm so happy. Everybody was talking about retrograde this week with the full moon and all that. I don't care. At this moment, like I said, I'm just excited for tonight's topic. This guy down here, everyone, is the enabler. I'm letting you know right now, he is responsible for about, I would actually say about this time, 30 or almost 50% of what I own in this room right now. He is
His
enabled.
fiance used to hate me when I turned her, and now she's an enabler for him. She was asking me. She was like, Brendan, should I get him into the Assassin's Creed line? And I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
Mario, you hear this? Spoken like a true Sith, man.
Yeah,
Dude,
Yo,
asking me,
that's a
like,
whole different
but she
level.
used to hate me, and he used to message me all the time, like, oh, boys, pissed at you, man. Like, look what you did. And
Yeah.
but now she's actually like convincing him to buy stuff, and that I would have anyway. But at least now I've got a little bit of cover.
Yo, you know what? The thing is, all it takes is the Jedi mind trick to just skew everything, bro. That's just what he does. One of my best friends of all time. I'm so happy that he's here.
Ninja Turtles in the background for you. Like, Turtles, saying, like, you got to do it.
Yo, like, anyway, this is going to be, like I said, the topic. I'm so excited about it. I'm happy to be wrong, but like I said, everybody has a vantage point here. I want to say that we all have a vantage view of how we've actually seen this film. So I'm excited to really talk about it. We got my man here, Mario, in the building, the man with the beard, the magic beard, most definitely. So I'm so, you know what? It's funny that all three of us have beards. Well, what's going on with you, bro?
Bro, I'm growing a little scruff. Like, look.
There's a little dirt there.
Like,
I got a little bit.
Come on, man. Like, what's up? We need the peach fuzz, bro. At least have a little
man,
bit
I
of
can't
it.
be growing a beard. It's itchy, man. I don't know how y'all do it. Like,
Bro, like, look, all it takes, bro. Like,
Early
look.
on it is, but then but you guys.
See, that's
the
what
thing is,
everyone
you
says,
gotta let it
Brendan.
grow, but
Get
you
over
see the key to keep it not itchy and to keep it nice and healthy. Beard
Exactly.
oil.
beard
Beard,
oil. Okay.
beard
So
oil,
Mario,
bro.
can you
Oil.
third that as a beard oil?
Go to the bearded
beard
bastard.
balm for me.
The bearded
Beard
bastard.
balm.
Beard
That's
balm.
the
Yeah, Spartan's
the bearded
Den.
bastard is the brand that I use. That's
Okay.
that's where it's
Yeah.
at.
Because with me and Brendan being, I don't know if you can have two bald guys in one podcast like this. Like, it's got to be some kind of law against
That's
that.
why the beard is essential, man. When you got nothing to do.
It is, man. But even a little bit facial hair, like, trust me, bald is in, man. You got the Jason Statham, Bruce Willis look. It works, man. You don't even
Yeah,
need the facial hair.
It
Right.
works.
Hey, man, like you get out of the shower, your head's ready to go.
Exactly.
It's like the only thing is that I need a hat or sunscreen because my bald ass head will fry like an egg
Dude,
on the sidewalk.
mine is
in the
literally
summer.
peeling now from getting fried like 3 days ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
And I'm pale Irish too. The only way I get tan is if all my freckles connect. So it's not it's not safe out there in the summer without some extra protection. But
It
that's
is
the way to
what
go.
it is.
The beard with the bald head, that's the combo.
Okay. Well, Mario, how you doing tonight, man?
They're good, man. I was shooting a collection video, just editing.
Oh, fuck
it,
him.
and-
He's got hair.
He's got face hair, a lot of it too.
I crashed out, woke up from a nap. I thought you were on already. I woke up, I was like, oh my gosh, I missed the stream. And then to realize that I guess you just postponed it. So
We
Yeah,
moved it
yeah,
to
yeah.
9. We were gonna
Yeah,
start at
yeah.
8:30, but then PJ said move it to 9. Then he didn't even show up at 9. Like,
And then he said he's
playing
not
with feet
gonna-
again.
Yeah.
He's looking at feet. There's no doubt about it. There's
Dude,
no
if
doubt.
you had started
put it
at
past
8,
him.
he would have signed on at like 10:30 and be like,
Yeah,
where's
exactly.
everybody?
I've been looking at
Pretty
feet all
much.
night. So Mario, dude, sorry Mario, I didn't mean to cut you off, but we're so glad to
no
have you,
worries,
man.
no worries. Yeah, thanks. No, thanks for having me, man. I'm always
Dude,
happy to be
it's
here,
always
man.
a blast to have you on, man. Let's address the chat real quick. I won't address the one comment because that'll get us demonetized. Mark is in the house. Hi there. Lane Kramer in the house. The Seekers of Pain. Danny Lee. What's up, Will and crew? Danny in the house. Alexander. What's up, guys? Lane back again. First time seeing Brennan, who is the one who enables and blackmails Lael to buy his 20 hot toys and 20 statues per year.
Blackmail.
Brendan, you have a bad reputation, man. I don't know what the deal is. So King oh my
Seriously?
God. King Dingaling. It ain't a stream without King Dingaling. That's what they say.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. So no Optical, you're tired of being bullied. I don't think so. I think Optical just is not here right now. I bully Optical, I feel like. So
He'll saunter in at some point.
yeah, exactly. Did Anakin bring Bound to the Force during the jet? Oh, maybe we'll talk about that tonight. Doc Smizzle. Hi, everybody. And then the Blue Pig Gaming. Hello there. We got a nice crowd here tonight, guys. Because Rise of Skywalker, man, it's not as contentious as Last Jedi, I feel like. But it's up there. It's definitely not. Force Awakens, I feel like, is the least controversial of the three films, even though it's still controversial to some now. But
Is it really?
yeah, I think so. I mean, I think so. I think some people view it as controversial in hindsight because it was too safe. It's too similar to A New Hope, all that
Right.
stuff that's rehashed a lot. But
That's the only real criticism I've heard of it. But the thing is, everybody, it's like, we want something that is what the OG, what we loved about the OG. Then you give it to them, and then, oh, that's too similar. It's like,
Right.
just, but like,
You're
hard.
never gonna please Star Wars fans.
No,
Yeah.
you're not.
Mandalorian
hell no,
did.
hell no.
Mandalorian
You're not.
did. That's the only one I feel like has ever done it. I
more
mean,
so than others. But I still, every so often, I find like a contingent of people out there who are like, "What's so special about the Mandalorian?" Or, "Oh, this
Right.
is
Yeah.
boring." You know, you're never gonna
Yeah.
please everybody, like you said, Mario. But
Not at all.
Right.
Not at all.
exactly, guys. But I think what we're going to start with is what we usually go with, like overall thoughts. But I kind of want to rename this to like general thoughts, so we don't get too deep into it, but just kind of like our general thoughts on the film. Like, I know if we didn't watch it tonight, you've all seen it somewhat recently, I'm sure. I mean, we've seen it within what it came out like a year, 2 years ago now. So I think it was 2019, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I
So I
think
mean,
so.
it feels crazy, man. It feels like it was a year ago, but it was really 2 years ago. It's so crazy. And Brendan and I were talking about like Carrie Fisher's passing like 5 years ago now. Like
Oh man.
crazy. It was like
yeah, she
2016.
died. She passed before, like right before, I think, the Last
came
Jedi.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right before
Yeah.
it was released. Exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's so crazy. But I mean, honestly, like I said, it's always good to start with just general overall thoughts. So I really want to start with Mario on this one because I'm really just not sure where he's gonna go with this. So I'm like just anticipating how he's gonna, respond.
He's the
to this.
X
But Mario-
Factor.
Exactly, he's the X Factor. Because I kind of know where Leo's at. I
Wow.
kind of know where Brennan's at. I know where I'm at, obviously. But Mario, what do you think, man? Just overall thoughts on Rise of Skywalker.
Oh man, I thought it was a hot mess, man. I mean, I
Oh.
thought it was a
Ooh, he
rush
comes
of a
on fire.
movie. It wasn't. I don't think it was drawn out properly. There were so many. I thought there were so many things that I think that could have been better.
Mhm.
It was entertaining, but it was just, yeah, it was forgettable for me, man. I mean, yeah, I don't think I hate it. I was just more disappointed than everything. I mean, granted, I haven't really watched it recently, so I don't know if I can give too much of a valid opinion on
No,
this
but I
other
mean,
than
if
what
you've
I
seen it,
remember.
that counts. I mean, it
No,
doesn't have to
yeah,
be
yeah, I've
yesterday,
seen
but
it.
I just rewatched it like 3 weeks ago.
I just rewatched it like 20 minutes ago. So
So I wish I would have, man. That would have been a
it's all
lot easier
good.
for me, a lot better for me. Look, when we were planning our theater trip when this came out, I mean, I was going in with low expectations considering how the reception of The Last Jedi was, and I'm glad I did because it was just it was. I'm sorry, I wasn't feeling it.
gotcha.
Like I said, I just thought it was just a big mess of a film.
How'd you feel about The Last Jedi and Force Awakens?
The Force Awakens, I enjoyed it. I did like it.
Okay.
It wasn't. I do understand the later reactions saying how it was basically a rehash of A New Hope, which it was fine. And then later on with the whole controversy of Rey came out as far as being a Mary Sue and this and that, and I was like, I am starting to see that a little bit. But overall, I did enjoy it. It was fine. I mean, we haven't seen a Star Wars movie since what was it, 2003 or Revenge
Yeah.
of the Sith, or 2005 or something around
It
there.
was a while.
2003. Yeah.
So yeah, I was really excited at the time to see it, and I enjoyed it. The Last Jedi, it was kind of shocking what I saw. I mean,
So you don't like it?
I thought it was a. I know some people say that cinematically that it wasn't really that well done. Where I disagree. I thought it was a beautiful looking
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
But one of the
Yeah.
first things when we see Luke receive the lightsaber and just toss it over his head, I'm like, oh
Right.
no, where is this going?
Right.
So,
But it had you interested. Like,
Yeah.
from jump
of
right
course
there,
it
you were
did.
like,
Of course
oh,
it did.
shit,
I want to know. I want to know why. He's
Why he would
doing
do
what
that,
he was
yeah.
doing. There were some scenes also in there that fell apart that everybody doesn't like. But Last Jedi, it was all right. It wasn't. I didn't
That's
hate it
so
as much
funny.
as everybody else did. It's so weird.
That's
You
so
know,
interesting
I
how
like it
like
okay.
you're actually more you have actual like more of a reaction in a negative sense to Rise of Skywalker than Last Jedi, when Last Jedi was the one that kind of like sparked all the like the controversy
I don't
and
want
the
to spoil
craze.
Leel's thing, but he might be similar. So we'll see. But
Yeah.
sorry, Mario, go ahead.
Yeah. No. So that's basically it. I'm wrapping
So,
up anyway.
so you're thinking basically, like, what would you rate Rise of Skywalker on a scale of 1 to 10, Mario?
Maybe a 6.
A 6?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would what would Force Awakens be? You said you like that. Like, what would Force Awakens be?
I'd probably give it a 7.5.
Okay, so it's significantly better. Yeah, and Last Jedi would probably be like a 5 or something for you.
I'd probably give it a 6.5.
Oh, so you're pretty
A
close
little-
then
a
on
little
Last
bit-
Jedi
a
and
little
Rise of
higher than-
Skywalker. Okay.
Yeah. The weird thing is, I'm one of those weird people that actually I didn't mind what happened to Luke. I understood it, and I accepted it, and I was fine with it. Well, I know a lot of
Thank you.
a lot of fans my age, a lot of friends that I knew that were really pissed about it. So, but I was okay with it. It was no big deal for me. So
okay.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Brendan, let's hit you next because I know you're gonna have a lot to say about this film. What are your general overall thoughts on Rise of Skywalker?
I enjoyed it. I have trouble with like a 1 out of 10 kind of scale because it's like you can look at it in isolation, but then it's hard to maintain that scale when you start comparing it to other films in the franchise. For me, Rogue One that's mine. That's my jam. I know a lot of people, it's like Empire. I love Empire, but for me, Rogue One, just from a filmmaking standpoint, is gold. Rise of Skywalker, if I'm just in isolation, like a 10-point scale, I mean, for me, I'd say it's a solid 8. I think there are a lot of issues with Rise of Skywalker that are born from Disney and Lucasfilm not having an overall cohesive strategy for a trilogy. They wanted a trilogy, but they didn't treat it as such, and they were basically like, all right, you make this movie, and then, all right, then you come in, and what are you going to do now? And then you come in, and what are you going to do now? And JJ had to basically retcon The Last Jedi so he could try and veer toward what he was kind of ballpark thinking of when he did The Force Awakens. And so that did lead to some weaknesses. I thought, things with like Palpatine and stuff were rushed. I'm personally, the whole Mary Sue aspect of Rey in The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, look, Luke trained with Yoda for like a hot second. So, like, I mean, Luke was a Mary Sue first before Rey was. So, I think that it's just we kind of grew up with Luke, and so that was more acceptable to us, and it was harder to see somebody kind of take that spotlight for some people, anyway. But I thought it was a solid movie. There were aspects that were difficult from a trilogy standpoint that JJ had to kind of navigate, especially with like the passing of Carrie Fisher, which I thought he handled brilliantly. But overall, I think that it'll stand the test of time. I think that as it ages, I think people will start to appreciate it more, just like the prequel trilogy.
Okay. Yeah, dude. So like 8 out of 10, that's a pretty good score. I mean, like overall, that's solid. I mean, so Rogue One's your jam. Would Rogue One be like a 10? Is that like the scale?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Like Rogue One's like a 10.
Acting, the writing, the cinematography, and the sound design in Rogue One is bar none the best that this franchise has ever had.
Okay.
The cinematography and the sound design, superb. You can talk about like, we didn't have that much for lightsaber fights or, whatever there. But I absolutely love Rogue One. That's a 10 out of 10 for me. I would say The Force Awakens is like 8.5, 9 for me. And The Last Jedi, honestly, I'd probably give that like 7.5, 7.5. I think that I won't go into it too much because we're focusing on the third film, but the Last Jedi, I think if you look at it in isolation and try and step back from the fandom for a second, it's more just that they got the wrong guy to do it, and not that he didn't do a good job or that he's not. I mean, Knives Out, Rian Johnson, phenomenal.
Amazing.
Okay,
right, that was great.
The issue is he's an auteur. He's an artist who needs to be able to come in, write and direct his own thing that doesn't have the baggage of another fandom around it, because dude's going to come in and do what he wants to do. And bottom line is, whether we love it or hate it, if anybody gave one of us millions of dollars to go make our Star Wars movie, we would make the movie that we would want to make, and half the fandom would hate it because it's not what they want. So he was given an opportunity and he ran with it. So I have nothing but respect for him for that. I wouldn't have made all the choices he made, but I respect that he had the balls to make them. So, I think there's a lot of baggage with the sequel trilogy, and I think they all deserve due respect.
Got it. Okay, so Layal, dude, I'm gonna let you go on this long one here because I know you got a lot to say about this film, man. What do you think about Rise of Skywalker? I really want to hear this. I don't think I've ever heard your thoughts before on it.
Oh, I have.
Here's the thing. I think the Rise of Skywalker is the results of what he had to do with what he was given from the Last Jedi. You know what I mean? And a lot of it, if you think about it, a lot of it from his standpoint was course correcting certain things that were wrong, or what he felt as though were wrong and weren't according to his plan, so to speak. You know what I mean? Of what he envisioned from, what was started with, I keep forgetting The Force Awakens going into The Last Jedi. What we were basically given from The Force Awakens was a new beginning, a host of characters, along with, a bit of nostalgia that we've gotten. And it took us on a ride, and I guarantee, and I can honestly say that it did give me what I wanted as far as those feels. And I was anxiously awaiting, anticipating to see where they were going to go next. Going to Celebration in, Orlando when Rian Johnson was there, and watching the trailer, it was like, okay, this, from what we saw, visually amazing. Something that was like, wow, like, okay, Last Jedi, we're going to get something. We don't know exactly what we're going to get. After the last, line from Luke was the Jedi have to die. We basically saw that at the trailer, at a Celebration, when the trailer was presented. Seeing that, and then you're anticipating, The Last Jedi, you watch it and it's like, okay, it took me a couple of times to see it and view it to kind of pick it apart.
How many times did you see it in the theater?
Oh, bro.
What, Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker, bro. Like, no, Last Jedi. I actually saw it in the theater. I would probably say all of maybe 4 or 5 times.
Ooh.
And the reason why, and it's because I had to really, I go into completely dissect everything. I didn't like, and I'm one of, amongst the ones that did not necessarily like the way they did Luke. And I explained to you, and like I said, we've already gone into detail basically about it. It was just a simple fact that I would be able to understand it if they gave us a bit more of the background, of the backstory as to why he got to that particular point. Because of what we saw, from Return of the Jedi, what we got in certain games, some of the lore that we were getting, some of the comic books that we've actually read, some of the novels, we know what Luke represented at that point. Now, to get from there to here, and then you don't have everything that's actually here to make it cohesive, that's what was kind of confusing, and that's what I didn't like. And even Mark Hamill himself didn't like it. But as he said, I'm just the actor. I can only do what you actually give me. I'm going to act. I'm going to do, I'm going to portray this character way. I'm going to capture your vision, whether I like it or not. And that's exactly what he did.
He came around a little bit on it, though.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, slightly, but still, happy, he wasn't happy at all. Talking about Rey's character and how everybody talks about she's a Mary Sue. I told you before, I love Rey's character. I love the character of Rey. I like her story. I liked it. Now, put it this way: I liked her story up until the Rise of Skywalker, and because I basically felt it was just the way they shoehorned that in. It was just like they were listening to fans, and they wanted they focused more on giving the fans what they wanted rather than saying, you know what, you may not like where we're going, but we're going to start. You started with this idea, we have to take it somewhere. To bring Palpatine into that story completely changed what it was meant and what Anakin Skywalker, Vader himself, meant to us in his journey. Basically him and his hero's journey in the very end, and him actually being, the chosen one. It kind of changed that narrative slightly, because it's saying, okay, what he fought for, what he sacrificed meant absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? That's what it basically is, and that's how it felt to me. That was just my opinion. But the visually, and when I say visually, it was gorgeous. It was a gorgeous film to watch, a spectacle. It gave me everything I wanted to see. But as far as the storyline, and it wasn't as cohesive, it just seemed like it was everywhere. Like, what they did to John Boyega's character, I'm like, what?
That's the biggest offense of that movie and the trilogy in general,
completely.
Is that you wasted Finn, you wasted John Boyega, who's an amazing actor. That's the biggest,
For sure,
absolute,
no doubt.
inexcusable offense. Of the
Exactly. That was like something that you had every opportunity, to give this character his just due in this particular film. So you just
trilogy. And I like
basically
that he's been vocal about that too.
Yeah, he has.
I'm hoping he gets maybe like a show or a movie or something.
If he agrees to it, I'm hoping
Yeah,
he
if
would.
he had the right
He might
director,
not
I think
want
he
to.
would. I think he would.
If who knows, dollars and cents
if the
talks
money's
more
there.
than basically exactly.
Right.
So I mean, basically, you have an opportunity to take this character to where he should have been, but what you did was you just gave us subtle hints here and there, and all we heard was him say the entire or scream or yell back and forth was Rey. You know what I mean? He just basically he played the side anecdote to Rey, and that's what I didn't like. Now, to basically bring Palpatine into this film, man, myself, I felt as though it wasn't needed and it wasn't necessary for me. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that I actually felt as though you had to bring in to make this film successful. And it was, and I get it. Okay, JJ was given, it was sort of like what we got from, The Last Jedi. He had to view that film and then, scrap or piece everything together and say, okay, this is, and then on top of that, given the simple fact that nobody anticipated, Carrie Fisher passing away the way she did. So it's like, okay, exactly, because what did they say? They said this film was supposed to be about Leia's journey. You know what I mean? Just Leia in general. And that narrative got completely changed because she passed. Completely understandable. But I just think that to close this film, to close the saga the way they did in this particular film, I didn't think they did it justice at all. It was just, I mean, from my opinion, they didn't do it justice. Rey's storyline, where she basically went, I mean, that line, I mean, it makes me cringe. That very last line to say, and I am the Jedi. Come on, bro. Like, seriously, like, you couldn't have wrote anything else better than that, man. Like, I'm pretty sure you could have came up with something totally different. I mean, I just felt as though, and then to have this whole Reylo thing, bro, like, I was, you know what, honestly, and people might call me crazy or might say a lot in the chat. I mean, it is what it is. I didn't want a redemption story. I didn't want a redemption
Kylo?
story with Kylo at all. I did not want a redemption story. Because the thing is,
coming though, they're not going to have the son of Han and Leia be irredeemable. They're just.
I think it was definitely in the making. But yeah, I see what you
He
mean.
had to
Leia. A
die,
lot of people
though.
didn't want it too.
he had to die, but I basically felt as though, I mean, being and maybe because I love Kylo the way I do, I love the character and the weight of the character, and basically just how much he was torn and how much he had to sacrifice. You know, I felt as though with his journey, it could have been extensive in maybe a few more films. We could have basically seen him as the new Anakin Skywalker, who, okay, yes, he wasn't notably, and to be quite honest, he didn't end. He was never actually, they never mentioned him as being a Sith because he never was. You know what I mean? He was more like what they would want to call an acolyte, someone who basically just believed in the religion, believed in the cause, and wanted to be, but at the same time was torn because he was still leaning towards the light. My thing is, it's like, yo, like I wanted, and like we've talked about this before, I didn't even want him to take off his helmet into this. You know what I mean? If he'd have kept his helmet on the entire time, it would, that mystery, that shroud, it would have just made much more sense.
They had to have him take the helmet off though, because it doesn't hit an emotional chord as much when he kills Han Solo. If you don't see, if Han doesn't get to look into the eyes of his son, if he's looking in the mask, then it's not a shock. When he's looking into the eyes of his son and then he gets betrayed and killed, that's where you have. So I agree with you, because one, I think I love Kylo Ren's look. I love that mask. I think honestly, I think it looks
Both
cooler
them,
than Vader's mask. But yeah, that was, I think they had to, but I understand what you're saying about, like, you want that reveal to be. The crazy thing is, you think about it, in the first two movies of the sequel trilogy, there's no Sith. Because Snoke isn't really a Sith either.
No.
You don't have a Sith until Palpatine.
Exactly.
He's just a question mark, really.
Exactly. And to be quite honest, if we would have all right, and I agree, like giving him that moment with his father made much more sense. But after the battle between him and Rey at that time, which, okay, people have their opinions about that. I mean, I have my feelings, but I mean, I think it was well done. Even that slice to the face, They could have did it where it was so much of a deformity that he had to wear that mask until,
Right.
you know what I mean, the last film. But they didn't. I mean, it is what it is. Ryan Johnson decided to destroy the helmet. It is what it is. I don't know what that really meant and why he did that, but I mean, it is what it is. I just thought that this particular film, Rise of Skywalker, they had every chance to right everything that was wrong with The Last Jedi, and they missed the mark in a sense. To me, in my opinion, they missed the mark. And I'm not going to say, look, and I compare the and this is surprisingly enough, compare The Last Jedi to Rise of Skywalker. I'm going to choose The Last Jedi. And that's crazy to say, but I am, because I think The Last Jedi, because
that's a growing sentiment.
Yeah, and
so.
Ryan Johnson, he took a step. At least he made an attempt to do something that was completely different. So I commend him on that. Where, you know, JJ, he stuck to what he played it safe. This entire film, he played it safe. He didn't want to change. He felt as though, look, we have to. You don't, man. I'm not going to cuss on here, but F the fans right now, because that's what Ryan Johnson did at that time. So why don't you just continue, just do something different? But at the same time, you can still satisfy us. You can still do certain things that would kind of help reel it in and bring it back. But don't just play it safe and just decide to bring Palpatine in, because
hey, I like to be satisfied. But here's the I don't agree that JJ had what you said had every opportunity to correct the things that were wrong that people hated, that were issues, because I mean, I think people underestimate how difficult of a movie that was to make in the circumstances. Babu Frick, sorry, I don't want to demonetize you, is awesome. But here's the thing. One, you're dealing with, you basically have to retcon because Ryan Johnson just kind of blew up any semblance of what you might have done as a roadmap for this trilogy from the outset with The Force Awakens. I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying that's what you're facing. All right. So you've got, I'm just assuming that Toya is about to agree with what I'm about to say.
I think she's talking about the fin. She's talking about Leia's fin point, but who knows if she agrees. Latoya, you got to get on this if you agree on the Rise of Skywalker stuff. With Brendan or Leia, you got to pick a side here.
But I'm not excusing all the issues, but when you look at the uphill battle he's facing, Carrie Fisher's gone. Now he's got, and I think he did a brilliant job of dealing with that. But Carrie Fisher's gone. Ryan Johnson just kind of blew up the whole notion of Rey's parentage. Now you've got to try and circle back and make that a lie. And there's so much that was done in The Last Jedi that honestly I think could have worked if all of that was fleshed out over 3 movies. And I think there's so much that could have worked well in The Rise of Skywalker if all of that was fleshed out over 3 movies. The problem is they each got one. But, I mean, well, JJ got the first one, but he didn't have to. He could do what. Oh, hey,
the word is in. I'm sorry, Brendan. I'm sorry, man. I didn't want to break the news to you, but Toya did it.
We'll talk when we see each other in August.
All right, there we go.
But okay, so what? Okay, so. When you say that,
I just think it was harder for him to do that, and we're underestimating. Like when we say he had every opportunity to correct, it was a lot harder, I think, than a lot of people realize.
But when you say that, okay, you say that Rey, you know, when he had to actually course correct the simple fact that, you know, Ryan Johnson, you know, completely dispelled Rey's lineage, and that he had to correct that. But why? Because the way I feel is if he basically made the conscious decision to say that Rey that her parents were nothing, they meant absolutely nothing, then that was a way for us to see Rey from a totally different light and maybe create another story surrounding her as who she is, someone who is new to the Force. Okay, show basically that training between her, which, okay, cool. We got the training between her and Leia, which I basically felt as though there should have been training with her and Leia, but Luke should have been a part of that. You know what I mean? Luke's Force Ghost should have been a part of that to kind of give it some guidance, because we're knowing that, okay, Leia is kind of new to that, or as much training or whatever training she got, she's still kind of new to it herself. You know what I mean? Right. So she can only give it from a certain point of view. But I mean, we get a chance to see Rey from a totally different light. Like, why change it and say that, okay, now she's the granddaughter of Palpatine? Like, why did you need to bring that in? Because it really, to me, absolutely made no sense. It was, you didn't have to. It's like we're leaning. Okay, Vader is Vader. We already know Vader's story is Vader, and I don't care. I'm a Vader fan. You can bring Vader in we can bring Vader in my house, and I'm good all day. But what I'm saying is, like, Vader's Vader, and if we see Vader, yes, it's like a wow factor, but it makes sense for us to see Vader. Palpatine's death at that particular point meant something. It meant something to the story, to the lore, to everything, especially to Anakin, because of that sacrifice that was made. To bring him back in this film, it's like, I'll backtrack. I'm not going to say it didn't mean like Anakin's sacrifice didn't mean anything, but it did sort of like, okay, then what was all of that for? Like, what was it all for if he's just that powerful enough to come back? You know what I mean? Like, to come back, especially the way he did.
Because Mario's got to go. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mario.
Yeah, no, sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, Leia. I'm so sorry. But Mario's got to go, and I don't want him to hold up forever. But Mario, I just want to say thank you for joining us so much. Like, guys, check out Collecting Weekly. They are awesome. They do some amazing live streams, all this amazing content. Mario's got the best beard on the whole show. Of the show, really. And dude, thanks again, Mario. You're the man. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I really wish I could stay longer, man. But
we'll see you again, bro.
We're gonna see you again,
stick
man.
around with you guys for a half hour that I did. So
yeah, absolutely. Dude, I appreciate you stopping by nonetheless. And if you get back in time, we're still on. Hop back in, man. We'll be still talking.
If you do, I bet you're here before PJ.
Hey, there you go, Brennan. See, Brennan's getting in, man. I like
exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
All right, Mario. Peace out, man.
Good night.
Yeah, you too, man. Sorry, go ahead, Leia. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, I just felt as though like Palpatine's shoehorned into this particular film, to me, in my opinion, wasn't needed. Like we didn't actually need that storyline. And I mean, yes, okay.
It almost didn't happen.
JJ,
they said that JJ was going back and forth about whether he was going to be Palpatine's and this, like, I like the Rise of Skywalker, but this is what I would have preferred because it would line up so well if they did this right now. Is he was wondering if he was going to make her a Kenobi.
Yep.
And you think about it.
Yeah, she said that.
If he made her a Kenobi, what if we find out that with what's her name, that he was in a pseudo relationship with in the Clone Wars? I can't remember. Was on Mandalore.
Yeah. What is her name? The chat, keep us on it. Not Satine.
Yeah, chat, help us out, please, because I haven't seen
Satine?
Duchess Satine, wasn't it?
I think it was. I'm not sure.
Or am I
getting Ray would have been there?
Satine sounds familiar. It sounds familiar.
I remember that, Brendan. Ray talked about that. Or Daisy Ridley. She said it went back and forth.
Yeah. So imagine if she ended up being a Kenobi. Maybe he had a secret love child, right, during like the Clone Wars or something, and then you're dealing with maybe he finds out or maybe he doesn't, but he's struggling. Like in this Kenobi series, you could then fill in some of Rey's kind of lineage, and flesh that out in the Disney Plus series that's coming. Yeah. Because you got to have some more emotional hook and something to drive this show with Kenobi than him just kind of like being the old dude who's just kind of watching Luke from afar. You know, there's got to be more to it.
And it would have made so much more sense.
Doc, there you go.
Yeah,
so that would have been really cool because if she's a Kenobi, she's got more of a tie to Luke then. Yeah. And then, you know, I don't think Palpatine being her grandfather takes Luke and Anakin and just kind of throws that out the window, though, because to me, even though they say this is like this sequel trilogy was like the end of the Skywalker saga, you think about it, that ended with The Last Jedi. And they needed to let the new three, Rey and Finn and Poe, take center stage, and I think Poe was another one that was seriously underused.
No doubt.
But to me, it's like Anakin still brought balance by eventually having Luke as a child and then saving him and killing Palpatine and letting Luke bring the Jedi back, all right? Luke serves his purpose of helping his father come back, of ushering in a new era for the Jedi, okay? That's his story. Palpatine coming back doesn't, because bad guys come back all the time. Palpatine coming back does not diminish or nullify what Luke and Anakin went through. It's just he's a villain now for Rey's story. And Rey has a loose tie to Luke and to that. But ultimately, Rey I think they just needed to let her breathe and be her own thing. And we were so focused throughout this trilogy on what's her parentage. Is she a Skywalker? Is she a Kenobi? Is something like that? That I think if they had just kind of done away with that, then we could have just let her breathe as her own character, because not every Jedi has to be a Skywalker.
Right.
And then when they hardcore went into that, like you said, like JJ could have just gone in the Rise of Skywalker with what Rian Johnson did, was say her parentage doesn't matter. And I don't think everybody loved her being a Palpatine, but I think more people would have been pissed off if
she was
went
nothing.
along
If she
with
was nobody,
what because people were so mad that what Rian Johnson did, they would have been like, JJ, you could have fixed it and you didn't. What the hell?
Right.
So I think it was a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. Was it perfect? No, absolutely not. But I think I was talking to Will about this earlier. I think JJ gets treated unfairly or referred to unfairly in the whole, he starts franchises well but doesn't finish them. Well, first of all, he did The Force Awakens. He had no intention of coming back to Star Wars. That didn't happen until everything with
They
The Last
asked him to
Jedi
come
happened,
back,
and they asked him
because it
to come back.
imploded. Yeah.
Now he's got to deal with Carrie Fisher gone. Now he's got to deal with Rian Johnson going just like bat crap crazy. Or I'm Irish in Boston. It's hard for me to censor. So
You're doing great.
But you know what I mean. So that he had a lot of things that he had to contend with there.
Yeah.
And if he was manning the trilogy from jump, I think it would have been extremely different. And I really do think that people would be a lot more favorable to this trilogy.
I think so too.
I think I always look at this just like I looked at, the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, although this is much more favorable, is that I knew that movie was not going to hold a candle to the original Indiana Jones that I grew up with. And I had this nostalgia, like beating heart that I loved. There was no way it was going to live up to it. And so I went in not expecting that. I was like, I just want to see some flashes of what I love. And if I can see some glimpses of that, and overall it's what it is, I'm okay with that. And I'm going into the fifth one that they're making the exact same way. We go into it, and there are a couple moments that I enjoy, and the rest of it, it's like, it doesn't diminish what I loved about the originals. Yeah. But people go in with these crazy expectations. Yeah. And it just it makes it really hard. Like, Star Wars fans, more than any other fandom, set themselves up to be disappointed.
Disappointed. Instead of going into it just completely optimistic and just completely with low expectations.
And there's nothing wrong with being disappointed.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Or having expectations.
But don't set yourself up for it, or make it worse than it needs to be.
Yeah. Because guys, like, my general thoughts on the film, like, I'm mostly with you on this one, Brendan. Like, I love Rise of Skywalker, but I also completely understand. It's not to, like, straddle the fence here. Like, I totally understand the criticisms too. I think just objectively, you have to understand those. I mean, like, but for me, like, and I think we've talked about this before, like, Brendan, I think the perfect example to me, like, and you would totally get this as someone, like, we've talked about this, like, I was not, like, I had seen Star Wars when I was younger, right? But I wasn't coming into the sequel trilogy like, I'm a massive Star Wars fan. I love Luke Skywalker more than anything, and I can't wait to see what they do. Like, if I had been, I probably would have been pretty pissed at The Last Jedi, because I had all these expectations of what Luke is, what he was, like, what he should be, right? But I really didn't. Right, and exactly, and I didn't go into that. And, like, and I said the perfect example for me is, like, Last of Us 2, right? Like, I came in expecting something, and, like, I love Joel.
And you got something 10 times
right,
better.
and I got something. No, not at all. So, like, and I got something that, like, is not at all what I expected, and I love Joel, right? And, like, what happened to him, I was just, like, very upset about it. And, like, there are obviously many other criticisms, which we'll talk about, but. Like,
Leo, you got to play that game so then you can jump in on
He's going to agree with me, Brendan. You know he is.
I just, what? I saw, like, the movie specs of it, so I was like, like the little videos and everything.
Oh, because we showed him the scene. We showed him the scene with Abby and Owen.
All right.
Yeah.
But you can't take that scene out of context and show it to somebody who's never messed with these games.
I think that was PJ's idea. But
we'll jump back to Star Wars. I'm going to say one thing about that, though, because you do need to play that game, and so you can jump in on this. You got a PS5. I just got my second one today. You got a PS5. Do it.
Yeah, tell him who encouraged me to get a PS5. Yeah, tell him. Yeah, since you're talking about it right now.
I have a good idea.
And baby, I know you're listening. Listen to this one. Because I know you want to know who basically encouraged me to get a PS5 and sit out at 5 a.m. to get one. Yeah, exactly. So we'll talk about that later. We'll get to that discussion.
We got a good idea of who that was, but like overall,
just
like
experience it.
Experience it. It's definitely worth playing. But nonetheless, like Rise of Skywalker, like again, like I totally get the criticisms. Like there's no doubt, and I'm totally with you, Brennan. Honestly, I think if JJ had done all three, I think we're having a very different conversation. Like I think, like I honestly think, like would they have been three safe films? Probably. Like, no doubt about it. I think they probably would have been pretty run by the numbers, pretty in line with the original trilogy. There would have been some deviations, but I think that would have been one major criticism of this new trilogy. Would there have been some risks? Sure, but I think JJ probably would have played it a little, obviously, more safe than Ryan did, right?
Do you guys think you would have liked The Rise of Skywalker, or whatever it would have ended up being called, if Colin Trevorrow had stayed on board and he made it versus JJ?
I don't really trust Colin Trevorrow as a director, personally. So, I mean, like, I don't particularly love his work.
Or writer. I'm not saying I hate the guy's work. I'm just saying he's not making down.
No. Some of the treatment that everybody was talking about, like they actually did like leak a couple of scripts and storyboards. And
Duel of the Fates, I think they called it.
I was like, nah, I probably wouldn't have went that route because it would have been
extremely. Did they call it?
I think they were calling the film.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
It would have been
the fight between Obi-Wan
Darth
and
Maul,
right, exactly. But like they called it something
such a big context once Dave Filoni behind the scenes
like that.
But
there were a lot of ideas in there that I think like people liked, but they sound more like fan fiction than they do what would have been good in the film. Like that's kind of
right. It's a matter of oh, you got like 8 really cool ideas in here, but how are you going to make a good movie that encompasses
right?
those?
Yeah, there it is, the Duel of the Fates. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was called, which is what it's called with Darth Maul. So
I wouldn't have liked it being called that though.
Yeah, I don't either. But like
such significance with Darth Maul and Qui-Gon and Anakin, like you said, if you watch the behind the scenes of The Mandalorian, what Filoni talks about, like look, that was amazing. Determined Darth Vader and Luke's future, because if Qui-Gon wins, Anakin gets the father figure that he needs so that he doesn't go to the dark side. But instead, he didn't get the father figure. He got the brother who wasn't able to keep him on the right path, and he goes to the dark side. That one fight is what everything in Star Wars hinges on.
Oh yeah. When he explained that, I was just like, "Whoa, mind blown!"
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing how he explained it.
I just thought it was a good fight.
And that me too. I thought it was, because honestly,
so if they called the third movie in the sequel trilogy that, I wouldn't have liked that because of the significance of what that
of what it meant for that particular fight. And see,
don't mess with that.
Here's my thing. Like, I think for me, and I guess, like I said, my connection to just the original trilogy, my connection to Anakin, my connection to Vader and Luke as characters and what they meant to the original trilogy. And just like I said, I mean, just the inner turmoil, the struggle between both father and son, a father's sacrifice for his son, you know what I mean? Just to show him, look, you know what? Yes, you were right. You were definitely right about me. There was something that was there, but I couldn't disappoint who was at that time my master, but I made a choice to sacrifice my life for you. That meant so much. I mean, for anybody who basically has a father, anybody who knows what they would do for their own children, that particular moment meant so much. So going into like the last, or the Rise of Skywalker, bringing Palpatine back, I was open to the idea and I was like, okay, cool. Until they basically said that Rey was a Palpatine. I was like, okay. Like we're and even if they would have basically brought him back, I mean, because I know that they were actually teetering around the idea of bringing him back as a ghost or bringing him back as a a clone or however they wanted to basically do it at that particular point. But I just think, like, if we go back, like for instance, if we go back to The Last Jedi and what she basically saw in that cave, she saw multiple versions of herself doing the same thing, and then when basically she looked into that mirror when she had the Harry Potter moment, she looked in the mirror and basically saw that it was just her, two parents that merged together to form her. That was an idea that they could have ran with, and that we could have actually saw in The Rise of Skywalker, especially considering the simple fact that we got that vision of her as a dark Jedi, as the dark side Rey. I was like, yo, it would have been so dope to bring that idea in and her basically to find out, okay, yes, maybe she didn't have a parents' lineage, but then to find out, damn, she was a a test tube dummy, like a clone at that
Right.
particular time,
Right.
a clone, and she had a choice to make that she was the good, like to accept the simple fact that yes, I'm a clone of these individuals, but I'm accepting who I am and just moving on with that. And then to fight the clone dark side version of herself, that would have been crazy. Now
That would have been
that
really
was just
cool
wishful
because
thinking.
because the Clone Wars and Rebels and Bad Batch has really shown that the clones can be something more than just
Exactly.
the clone troopers.
Right.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
so they could have really driven that home if they made
Yeah.
her clone. That
Yeah.
actually would have been really cool. Now, how I always think about how cool it would have been if this would be a complete deviation, but if they had Rey fall to the dark side, and when Kylo Ren comes back to the light and is for a brief moment and is Ben, if she kills him, and then Finn has to bring her back to the light or kill her, then
Would've been cool.
we it's like, well, we think we're going this way, and then we flip it around, and then you actually do something of value with Finn's character.
With Finn as a
And
character,
now
yeah.
Finn has to bring her back, and he's got to step up and be that.
Right.
That would have been cool. Now there would have
Yes.
been a ton of like,
That would have been dope. That
oh,
would have been
there's
crazy.
an agenda because first you have a woman, and now you've got a minority character.
I just think
and
it's
there's
too
a-
risky with
Yeah.
that much money involved. Like it could have been amazing, but I just think like with
I don't
Disney
think that's a
stakeholders and stuff,
risk.
they would have
With-
been
with-
like, "Ooh, that
How's it a
sounds like we're
risk,
putting a
though?
lot of money on this," and because basically
How's
like
that a risk, though?
like
With
kill-
great actors,
True.
with great characters that
True.
have been underserved, and people are upset about them being underserved.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you've got a woman and you've got a person of color that
Yeah.
again, people will be like, oh, agenda and stuff, but you have these characters that are more representative of our world right now than than we saw in the 70s and 80s. And I'm not knocking the casting in the films, the originals and stuff. I'm just saying I like the embracement of
Yeah.
a cast that looks more like what we have in the world, today. I think that's more representative. I like that. But if you do that, but then you don't actually do the characters that they play justice,
Yeah.
did you really do anything worth it?
Yeah. Yeah.
right. And I get what you mean. Like and just to sum up my thoughts on it, like I said, like I really like this film. I think it's exciting. It looks great. The acting is good. Of course, there's some flaws with it, but like I still am like at a 9.5 just on enjoyment. I really like it. Like I really enjoy it. It's probably my like fourth favorite Star Wars film. Like it's definitely up there. Like I really liked Force Awakens. I really like Revenge of the Sith. I really like Empire, and probably this after that. So I mean, like I'm probably put Empire ahead of Revenge of the Sith and then Revenge of the Sith. But I really
like Revenge of the Sith, minus the dying of a broken heart. That was just like,
Yeah.
oh my god,
I get what you
that was fantastic.
but, like,
Other
it was
than
fun.
that,
Yeah, I get what you mean. But like with this film, like I get what you're saying, Brennan. Like I just think that like JJ, like what they did after The Last Jedi, I'm totally with you on the sense that like he really was kind of in almost a no-win position. I mean, like he's gonna piss off 50% of somebody. Like I mean, like because there were 50. I mean, maybe less than 50%, maybe 40%. Really liked The Last Jedi. They liked that it was bold, it was different, it was new. But a lot of fans who were probably louder, right, hated it. Maybe that's 60%, right? So they hated it. So JJ had to come in, and Disney was like, okay, that didn't work. Let's try to do the opposite of that. Let's do like the opposite of kind of what you did with The Force Awakens. That was
you
much
steer
less
too
divisive.
hard in the other direction, and you
Right.
just make the
Let's steer it
skin
all
worse.
the way back to The Force
Yeah.
Awakens, which was safe. Like, and I get what you're saying, Leo. Like, I don't feel like it really undermines Anakin's or Vader's sacrifice, rather, because I feel like ultimately, like, he still really saved the galaxy in that moment. Like, it takes like what 30 years for Palpatine to return. I mean, like, and Rey just kind of finishes the job. I mean, like, basically Anakin did the job. Palpatine basically uses like a cheat code and then comes back. Like, I feel like it doesn't undermine what his sacrifice was, because what it meant to Luke and what Luke means to the galaxy and what Anakin and Vader ultimately mean to the galaxy. But I
And
get what
not
you
every
mean.
Star Wars story has to hinge on the Skywalkers. I mean, there's tons of stuff.
The problem
from
is the saga. I
KOTOR.
feel like the saga does, because that's what the saga is. Like the Skywalker saga is the Skywalkers, right? So I feel like anything else Star Wars, definitely not. But the saga, yes. You know, I'm hoping maybe episode 10. I think maybe because the Skywalker thing is pretty much done, besides Rey being a Skywalker. But
Do you think
so
it's going to be called? There's going to be anything called in episode 10?
I think
or
they
do you
will.
it's
But
just
give it
gonna be-
time. I'd say maybe like 10 years. 10 years.
But
like,
see, if you call it episode 10, then don't then aren't you doing what you just said? Are you locking it into it has to be? If I have to follow that Skywalker,
because I'm going to say the first 9. The first 9. I think the Skywalker story is
now
done.
You're changing the rules.
No, I'm saying like if Rey's a Skywalker, is she really though? I mean, I'm fine with the name, but I'm just saying I'm considering the trilogy. It's a trilogy of trilogies, right? Like that's basically what I'm saying. And I'm saying after 9, it's done. Even if you make the saga, you could call it episode 10, but it's like a new saga, right? It's not. I think the Skywalker saga is the first 9.
My whole thing is if they've got a trilogy story, great, but don't make a trilogy just to make a trilogy. If you just want to make one episode 10, make an episode 10. Don't make a trilogy if you don't have the story.
PJ is rubbing Ray's feet, by the way, Brendan. I don't mean to interrupt you, but he's rubbing Ray's feet, looking at him. He's doing something weird, man.
She'll finally be here on Thursday.
Oh, you're finally getting her, man. PJ.
Yeah, Kylo
PJ
comes Monday. She comes Thursday. Yeah.
I'm surprised PJ hadn't sold Ray yet.
The timing of figures coming has really got me heated this week.
Bro, you already know.
I get most of my stuff overseas. But I like Lael. We have a good relationship with Ray at Underground, so I get stuff that I'm willing to wait for in the U.S. I get through him. I got like one thing through Collector's Own, but I've got the Far From Home Spider-Man that was held up forever. I should have just got it from Hong Kong, but I got that from Underground. But he's getting his from Sideshow. I'm going to New Jersey for a vacation for a week, and then my Kylo Ren are both supposed to be coming while I'm away for vacation.
While you're away, wow.
Well, Brendan, that's amazing. But PJ, how are you doing tonight, man? I want that you look a lot like Ray tonight.
I just wanted to keep going, so he just had to silently sit there.
He's not going to say anything. I was just hoping that he would talk as Ray and like kind of do like a sock puppet thing, but I guess he's not going to.
Yeah, let's hear your Ray voice.
PJ, can you hear us now?
Buy me now.
Well, that
you could buy me for an MSRP of. What's up, guys?
Oh,
what's up, bro?
There he is.
What's going on,
PJ? Hold on, I'll stop soloing you, dude. I love the background looks different, man. Something looks different. Is it the lighting, the camera angle? Something's different.
Maybe my T-shirt.
Maybe
it's the T-shirt.
Maybe it's the hat, man. Maybe it's the hat.
Could be,
dude. I'm so glad you were joined tonight, dude. And here's
sorry, man. It's dude. Like ever since I guess everyone's vaccinated. Everyone's like out and about. So there was like a huge.
Oh, traffic is back.
Traffic is a thing again.
Yeah. And then now like on the weekends like everyone's out, so it took us it was my sister's birthday, so it took us forever to get our check because everyone's out, so
PJ, so now that you're back, will you answer Lane's question? He has a super chat they brought in. Lane, thank you so much, man, by the way. That's amazing. Thank you. So to inject some levity,
Lane's just dropping 5
he's dropping bangers, dude. Lane is just dropping bands. Is the saddest scene in a movie you ever watched Never Ending Story and Swamp of Sadness with the White Horse and Atreyu? I've never seen that.
You never seen Never Ending Story, bro?
What is it? What did you call it?
You never seen Never Ending Story?
No.
Wait, is this the Never Ending Story live stream? I'm confused.
Yeah, you walked into the Never Ending Story live stream. Have you seen it, PJ?
First of all, I thought we were doing The Last of Us because I see Brandon.
We are. We talked about it briefly.
I was like, wait a minute. Wait, I thought today was the Rise of Skywalker. But hey, Brandon, what's up, Lael? What's up, Will?
What's up, bro?
So to answer Lane's question, Lane, I'm not sure. What would you guys say the saddest scene in a movie you've seen? I've never seen Never Ending Story, but
Rudy. Oh,
Rudy. I don't think I've seen Rudy.
Rudy, there is one scene that will always get me in tears, just because
the whole movie.
The whole movie, but there's that one scene at the end where like no
one
matter
that's
what,
like happy sad.
Notre Dame for life, baby. Notre Dame.
One that's like happy sad. Coco, the scene where he plays the song. That's pretty sad.
I haven't watched that. I've heard that's good. I haven't seen it.
It's great. Requiem for a Dream is like really dark and sad. That's like that. Oh
but
it's like just depressing.
That's I was gonna say this.
It's like it's just like depressing.
Love for PJ saying Rudy though, because Rudy. That's my favorite sports movie of all time.
Yeah, mine too. I mean, that's
But Never Ending Story, Will, you gotta.
Yeah.
What do you think?
You gotta watch it.
What's the saddest scene, Leo? Is it Never Ending Story?
No, well, not for me. I mean, it was a sad scene, but not for me. As far as like one of the saddest scenes in the film, I can't, because there's so many. This is like kind of hard for me to think.
The last scene, Showgirls.
But I, you know what? Actually, I think one of the saddest happy and sad scene was probably in Pursuit of Happiness when he finally realized that hit me so hard when he finally realized that he got that job. You know what I mean? And to see him outside and all that he went through. That was probably a sad, happy scene, like a you know, just redemption, and finally to say that you've made it.
He's got a lot of them.
Yeah,
what about I Am Legend when he has got to kill his dog?
Man, I just watched that scene the other day. That's brutal.
Oh my god,
dude,
bro.
that scene is so sad.
When he has to
that's
kill
like all he
his
has
dog.
in his life, man. The dog, and the dog. He has to kill the dog.
Oh yeah, that one.
That's the prep. But I think La La Land's another really good example.
Actually, actually had a German Shepherd.
Great.
So
La La Land's amazing. And the ending is like it's sad, happy kind of, but it's more so sad. Like it's just kind of like, but it's a great ending. But Lane, thank you so much. Leia, Latoya's in here. Who has seen Neverending Story? That's me.
there's a lot of things you haven't seen, man.
I
You
know.
gotta watch, you gotta watch Batman 1989.
I'm a youngin' dude. I'm 30, so I mean, like I'm
He
still. I'm hitting my prime.
He just shaved
dude.
his head to try and make him look older.
I'm trying to
like
catch
me.
up with you,
That's all
Brendan.
it is.
You know what? You know what? Will, there's no more excuses, bro. You review, you watch films, you review films.
I do.
You got to go back and do this, bro. To
there's so
say
many-
that you've never seen it, man, come on, bro.
There's so many obscure
realistically,
films I've seen
though,
that
if
you
he
guys have not
watches-
seen. I'm sure. Maybe Brendan, but
If he watches it though, he'll like it because I mean you're dead inside if you don't.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna be the same as it is for us because I grew up inspired.
Exactly.
It's always
with
firing me.
movie. That movie helped
Yes.
mold
The
my childhood.
nostalgia,
right?
the childhood, bro. Like straight up, honestly.
You watch Goonies and it's great, but if you watch it as an adult for the first time, it's good, but it's not the same feeling. Neverending Story is the same way.
You know what? You know what I watched last week, and I looked at it, and looking at it right now, it just doesn't hold up any further, bro. Poltergeist, bro.
Ninja.
Poltergeist, bro. The first one, the first and second.
Oh,
it just
Carol Ann.
Yeah, it just doesn't hold up well, but it's still a good film. But yeah, like
That
I mean,
still has the creepiest part about that movie is not the ghost; it's the short lady with the high pitched voice.
Yeah, this house is clean.
That was in a bunch of movies in like the 80s and stuff. She's so creepy.
Right. So
she gave me nightmares.
What I'll say real quick, and PJ, we'll jump to you because we're just hitting general overall thoughts real quick. I really like this film. I totally understand where you're coming from, Leo, about the Palpatine thing. It was a retcon, no doubt about it. It worked for me. Like I totally bought into it. Like no doubt it wasn't planned. I mean, like Daisy Ridley has even said they were toying with no one. They were toying with Kenobi. They were toying with Palpatine. Like they went back and forth several times. Like that's not ideal, obviously. But as I've always said, like I think it's been pretty clear that Darth Vader was not always planned to be the father of Luke. So again, like not everything is always planned. There are some things we make exceptions for and others we don't. So again, you know, it worked out really much better, obviously, in the original trilogy in terms of Vader, because that's like.
But there's a difference, though, right? Like with George Lucas created Star Wars.
Right. Sure.
You're even though there's changes, these are not coming from like the creator.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, you know, the argument that's thrown out there a lot, PJ, is like, oh, they should have had a plan. Well, that doesn't always happen. They should have. No doubt.
Yeah,
but that doesn't
like George
always
Lucas
happen.
didn't have as much of a plan as people really give him credit for having. He did not have that full plan. I mean,
but he is the creator, no doubt. But I mean, it's just.
If
but
he
like,
did have that whole plan, and he had Luke kiss his sister, the
right? Yeah, then there's a bigger problem.
Then somebody watch list or something.
So, but
the
PJ,
only thing that I think the only thing that he, you know, of course we talked about this before we covered, is that he did actually have a script that an idea of a script that he gave to him, and they just refused to use it. They brought it and said, "Nah, we're not going to use it."
Yeah, right.
That was crazy.
His sequel trilogy, yeah.
Well, yeah, there was a lot. I mean, because you're talking about Darth Talon.
Was it like inside midichlorians?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So I mean, which we're technically getting right now. No, it's it's being thrown out there to you, but they're not using the midichlorians. They're using the M count, right?
Yeah.
And you're kind of seeing that with like the Bad Batch.
The Bad Batch,
You're seeing that with.
I gotta watch.
You know, you're seeing that
I'm
with
a couple episodes behind,
with the Mandalorian. You know why they're going after Baby Grogu, because the M count. Like, I mean, how much midichlorians can you get? Like at that point,
that's no doubt what that is.
But it's.
I wonder if they're going to come back to that at all. With
I'm
Grogu
sure they
not
will.
being a focal point in season 3.
Yeah, it's midichlorians are too important. I mean,
yeah.
So PJ, what's your overall thoughts on Rise of Skywalker? I don't mean to cut you off, but just to give. I know you got a lot to say, probably, but. Like, because Brendan and I are a little more
My face says it all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Leo kind of like he's not a
I was
huge fan
actually
of it.
scared of
Obviously.
this stream.
So I think it's going to be good because it's almost like 2 and 2. You know what I mean? Because I think Brendan, I like it a little more than Brendan does, but Brendan likes it. Leo doesn't really like it very much. I don't think you like it either. So
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I absolutely don't. There's a lot of things because it's like what JJ should have done. I agree. There were mistakes that were made in The Last Jedi, but unfortunately, you kind of have to live with it, right? You can't go back and just like fix everything and correct it, especially
not in one movie.
Yeah, not in one movie, but the damage is done. Just move forward. You gotta move forward with the story and go along with it. Okay, I just feel like the whole movie was just fixing everything The Last Jedi undid, and you're like, as a viewer. As for me as a viewer, I'm like confused. You're like, you go here and then you undo it, then you redo it, and then you're undoing it. And as a viewer, it's like you're like a kid, with like two parents going at each other, right? They're about to get divorced.
Between two directors, yeah.
Yeah. So they're like,
do you think people would have been happier if he just continued with so many of the things that people hated from The Last Jedi? I think people would have hated The Rise of Skywalker more if he leaned into what Rian Johnson set out.
Yeah, I think you know what it is. Like, I feel like the damage done, no matter what, like it's done. But if you could actually just move forward and create like another story based off that, instead of like, because it's plain and clear, like it's like as a viewer, you feel it. You feel you feel the fight between two directors, and that's not right. As a viewer, as someone that watches this, you're like, wait a minute, like what's this about? Like this shouldn't be the case. Like if you have differences, like okay, like forget about it. Like put it aside, and just kind of like work together and create something that people can enjoy. And I think that the whole movie was basically just fixing. It's all about fixing all these things. It's great from a standpoint. Like when you first watch it, you're like, oh yeah, cool. But then after that, you're like, when you really think about it, you're like, whoa, like that was like the whole movie was just fixing whatever The Last Jedi did. There's no progression of story. It was just like, and it's unfortunate. I don't think they should have fired Colin Trevorrow. I think his story like really piggybacked off The Last Jedi, right? And then really kind of like had a nice continuous flow, obviously Leia passing, rest in peace, Carrie Fisher, it really put a wrench in the whole thing. But overall, we talked about
that earlier. So what do you like? So you think, because I asked them, I was like, what do you think? Do you think that if Colin Trevorrow had stayed on board, do you think that the third movie would have been better than what we got with The Rise of Skywalker? I just because based on him as a filmmaker, I don't hate the guy.
Yeah, I'm with you, Brendan.
I don't think it would have. And we also talked about like that it was supposed to be called the Duel of the Fates, which is very important to Star Wars lore with Maul and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And I would have not liked it being called that because that's so sacred to the Star Wars mythos. Do you think Colin Trevorrow doing the third movie would have been better?
I think so. I actually read the whole script and of that, of Colin Trevorrow's script. I think I also heard like, like actually there was a lot of YouTubers that were like reading and like some of them like trying to reenacting the whole movie and stuff like that. I mean, to me,
like
I just not cosplay. They're like reading the lines.
Yeah,
show me these videos. I gotta see that.
I know.
Yeah, no, I wish. I mean, but in the most part, like, I just feel like it's an easier pill to swallow because at the end of the day, after the whole trilogy is done, like you feel like there's an emptiness, like there's like something that was missed. That like I feel like Lucasfilms missed the mark with this trilogy. The whole Rise of Skywalker was basically like you're going like the tempo was like it was just fast paced, like it was beginning to end, like you're just like you feel like you're like in the Millennium Falcon going through like all the storylines, and there was no like consistent fluid like flow of like like from beginning to end. It was just like boom 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 on to the next one. A lot of missed opportunities for the characters like Finn, Poe, and what's her name, Rose. Like I mean, it's if
Rose
you're
got
gonna
done
like,
dirty. Rose
yeah,
got done
if you're
dirty.
gonna include these
Yeah.
characters and you want to be like, you know, you want to have diversity in your cast, and why include them and do nothing with them the whole time? Like Finn was just
Star Wars has a history of doing that, unfortunately. I mean, look at Captain Phasma. And that's on Ryan Johnson. I mean, Ryan Johnson was like, "Oh, you like get the
Let's kill her. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
but
killed
like,
Snoke too.
that was rough." And but JJ did it with Zori Bliss. I thought Zori Bliss was like, "Oh, this is a cool character. Looks really cool. I would love a hot toy. I think that would look beautiful."
Yeah.
But as a character, there was not enough meat on the bone. They didn't really do anything of
Not with Zori,
substance with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the thing is just that, like, you know, it again, it's just going back to it. It's just like it was just Finn yelling for Rey. Like all you hear is Rey, Rey, Rey. Like the whole time. The Knights of Ren. Why even bring them back if you're not going to do anything with them? You know, like I just feel like
that's another one. Yeah, it's
you know,
come
just
on,
like
they look badass. Give us something really good here.
They look like the Backstreet Boys in like in the music video, like when they had like that shot when they were like there was like it seemed like a drone like flying around them in like that desert. I don't know.
That would have been a good death for Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
If he just fought and failed against them because he just couldn't take, and it would have given them more credence too. And then maybe Rey's got to fight them.
Yeah.
The Knights of Ren. There are a lot of missed opportunities. There are a lot of just like pitches that were just watched with the bat on the shoulder in the whole trilogy, but definitely in the last movie.
I mean, especially us basically even finding out how or why Kylo and the Knights, you know, even came about. Like just them themselves, you know, becoming, you know, the group that, you know, I mean, come on, Knights of Ren. I mean, Kylo Ren accepting that particular name. I mean, us to find out where that derived from, you know, how they basically, you know, connected. And
JJ said that, like, there was like his name isn't like that's not his last name. He is the you know, of the Knights of Ren. So there's something there. And but then when Ryan Johnson just ignored it, didn't even touch that, it's like, well, damn. Like, so now JJ only has one movie to kind of do anything with the Knights of Ren, and I think that's where he had to put so much into this one movie because of things with the Last Jedi that. They were on the chopping block. It was just like, we don't have enough time to devote to really flesh these guys out, so we're just going to make them look cool. But that's about all we're going to do with them. And again, not having a cohesive vision for the whole trilogy, that was a big problem. But that's why the Knights of Ren just fell by the wayside.
So you know, going back, like, you know, for especially like the last part of the movie where I feel like, you know, the whole Reylo thing was just to please like the Reylo fanatics and the theorists and everything, and I think that was out of place. Like, when they have this connection through the Force, but when did they develop a romantic relationship? Just beyond me. Especially at the end, also like another missed opportunity. You're gonna bring back all these like Jedis, right? Rey's gonna hear them through the Force. You know, I think there was someone that actually edited a video and included like a lot of the Jedis. The visuals. And I feel that was like another missed opportunity because, you know, like them helping Rey like defeat the, you know, Emperor Palpatine. And seriously, again, like, I mean, like does Palpatine not learn that like that was the last time he got like you know,
bad guys don't learn.
You know, like he's throwing like
Force light. That many more movies.
They have no insight.
Yeah, but this is just like, oh, really? Like that's how he's gonna die? Like, you know,
I do think that like these fell into the same kind of like Hollywood trope that's like every movie has to have a romance, and not every movie has to have a romance.
Right.
You know, you don't have to have a romance between. I didn't have a problem with it, but you don't have to have a romance between Kylo Ren and Rey for the Star Wars movies to work. Okay. And I think they just kind of, it's like, oh, we have a leading man and a leading lady and we have to have a romance. But you don't.
Right.
More
definitely
often than
felt
not,
out
that
of left field a
romance
little bit. It didn't bother me, but it definitely felt a little bit out of left field.
It wasn't necessary.
Just objectively.
I mean, what we saw basically from, The Force Awakens and the chemistry that we actually saw, or what was developing between, her and Finn, you thought that it would have basically took off and went somewhere, but they, completely friend zoned him at the end of the film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Finn got friend zoned hard.
He got friend zoned quick, but I just think
and then he ghosted Rose.
Exactly.
He ghosted Rose big time. She was like, "Hey, Finn." He was just like, "Nah, I'm busy. I'm busy."
Yeah,
sorry,
but
I'm going
it
over
was
here with this chick. Like,
right? Like, can you wield a lightsaber, Rose? Like, if not, I'm moving on. Okay.
And that's the thing. It's like it's, go ahead, finish, PJ. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, PJ.
No, it's okay. I've lost my chain of thought. Shoot, where was
you talking about the Raylo? You talking about appeasing the fans?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that part, like, for me, it was like, so that I felt like was forced. And especially like towards the end, like when she like, I think that there was a lot of reaction videos about like, when she finally said like, when that old lady was like asking her, I was like, "Oh, who are you?" And she's like, and then she looks into the like to the twin sons, and there's Luke and Leia, and then she's like, Ray Skywalker, and that was just like very controversial. It was like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, for
I think
me,
it was
that
cheesy. It wasn't great writing, but again, George Lucas and Padme dying of a broken heart, or like there was so much horrible dialogue in the prequel trilogy.
Oh yeah.
Like George Lucas can come up with a great story. Writing dialogue has never
he's
been
a good big
his
picture
strong
guy.
point.
He's a good
right. So the line in Rise of Skywalker when she's like, Rey Skywalker, a lot of people disliked that. It was cheesy. It didn't bother me though. I mean, it's definitely not anywhere near as bad as half the dialogue in the prequel trilogies, and I still enjoy those.
Yeah, I just don't think that. I think they were playing safe. I don't think Ray didn't. I don't know if it was maybe Kathleen didn't want Ray to die, or it was JJ's.
Bring Kathleen into it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, I just felt like the whole time it was like she was like overpowered. The whole time. And okay,
you mean Ray was overpowered?
Yeah,
she did lose to Kylo though in this film.
Well, yeah.
I mean, she lost that fight. He was literally about to kill her. So I mean,
because she let her emotions control her. That was the whole point of that fight. She was fighting like a Sith, losing control and being enraged, and that's why. And he stayed calm throughout that whole fight with her. That's why he beat her.
I think it just was like kind of like a little bit of a retcon in that, like just showing Kylo is more powerful than Rey. Like it's kind of like the first film, Rey kind of got lucky. She tapped into the Force a little bit. Kylo was overheated, basically.
Yeah, but
I think he was more skilled.
And then in this one,
I think more powerful.
Yeah,
I think there's a difference with those two.
Yeah, but he's definitely more skilled.
PJ, what I said earlier though is Luke was the first Mary Sue. Luke trained with Yoda for all of 5 minutes, and then he goes on to fight.
Well, he still loses though.
And he lost to Vader.
He lost to Vader, and
he lost in that. But then you go to Jedi. There's not a whole lot of time in between, and he's not getting more training with Yoda. He doesn't go back to train with Yoda.
He still loses, and Vader does not want to kill his own son. Like he wins
in Jedi.
Well, I think Vader just didn't want to kill his son. Like he just, like as a father, like you don't want to. I mean, yeah, you do horrible things. But like you just don't want to kill your. Yeah,
Luke was the first Mary Sue. Maybe you can argue semantics about like the severity of it.
I think
Luke.
Well, I think George learned from that. Anakin really wasn't. Like Anakin lost a lot. Like I mean, I think George learned from that for the prequels. Like Anakin got his ass kicked a lot. I mean, until he didn't. So. Yeah,
but the thing is, like, I think Luke lost a lot. If you think about it, like in the first one, like he just had the help of maybe he didn't fight in the thing, he just used the Force to shoot into like
one thing though. I will say,
which he was basically coached at that time by
Kenobi.
You know what I mean? To do it. You know what I mean? So
right, yeah.
One thing I will say though, and this is why from one of my favorite podcasts, they don't do it anymore. Every so often they do. Was Prince and the Wolf with Josh Wolf, who Lael we're going to see in August. You're gonna love it. And Freddie Prinze Jr. All right. Most people, like at least my age, think, oh, dude from what is it, like She's All That, and then I Know What You Did Last Summer, and they don't take him seriously. dude is hardcore nerd, gamer, comic, Star Wars, everything. All right, and he was on the on Rebels. Okay, he was Kanan Jarrus, right?
Yeah.
He's had extensive conversations with Dave Filoni because they worked so closely together for several years, and he even said, when people are talking about Rey being overpowered or this other person being overpowered, it's like, it's not the individual. He said the whole point, and this is from Dave Filoni directly from George Lucas, is that the Force balances itself out. It means if this person rises to power, the Force will elevate somebody on the opposite side of equal power for them to go head to head to balance. So it's not like they're necessarily, oh, Rey is just, overpowered and this and that. It's like she has to be at a certain level to take on the current threat. And the whole point that Dave Filoni was saying is that the Force will balance itself out. So it will elevate Rey to a certain level to be able to combat the current threat. And it'll do the same thing on the other side. So there is an argument there for why she was able to do the things that she was able to do in those films.
But see, this is what I think, and I think where they missed the mark on that, though, and it would make sense if they would have stuck to that theory that the Force basically balances out. One rise, there's one to meet. If they would have actually said and stuck with that theory, I think where they went wrong is, in my opinion, bringing Palpatine in the rise of Skywalker, because basically you're saying that her lineage and her rise of power and the amount of power that she possesses comes from him, not from the simple fact that the Force itself basically brought her to that level in order to face a threat. Bringing Palpatine in that really, it's like, come on. I mean, so basically like a Palpatine in the very end, a Palpatine against its own, his grandchild against him. Where's the balance in that? You know what I mean?
It wasn't though. It was him against a dyad in the Force. It was Ben and Rey that were able to combine enough to be able to defeat him.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I get what you mean.
One supremely powerful one, and they elevated two to be able to face them.
Yeah, Brendan, the thing I've definitely heard that before. Like I remember Freddie Prinze Jr. was talking about it, like how the Force balances things out, right? Mm-hmm. I hate that idea. Like I just hate it. I feel like it sucks all tension.
Yeah, you can hate it, but it comes directly from the creator.
I know.
Definitely.
It's definitely a thing, no doubt about it. I just feel like it's such a bad idea. Like I just feel like it's like it literally takes all the tension out of the films. Like Freddie Prinze Jr. was even talking about. He was like, literally all you have to do is understand that and you'll know who's going to win in the next film. Like it's like it, I hate
to a certain extent, but also remember you have the fall of the Republic. You have there are all these things that happen. It's like, remember it took 30 years for the Republic to come back, which means there was 30 years of dark times under the Empire. So there still are stakes. It's not going to balance itself out like that. It could take generations, but eventually it will happen. But so I don't think it takes all the tension out. I do agree that like he said, you can kind of predict certain things. I mean, inevitable. Like we know that in the end, the guys are always going to win in these.
But I mean,
I don't think it takes all the tension out. I get what you're saying though.
But I get what you mean. But I think it also like is one of those where it's like I just don't feel like it's really necessary to do that. Like, what's the point of training? Like, there's no point if the Force is ultimately going to decide the winner and loser. There's no point to train extra.
The thing is, okay, I mean, I'm gonna just disagree with that. I don't think it was like that. Like, I did listen to that podcast about Freddie Prinze Jr. talking with those guys, and it was just basically just saying it is the balance of the Force. Now with Rey, the problem is there was no like with Luke. I'm gonna go back to Luke, the original trilogy, right? With Luke, okay, so you got these two. Sith Lords like ruling the galaxy, and then you have Luke, and then you have like Ben and Yoda, right? Maybe there's Ahsoka floating around somewhere. But here's the thing: is that like with Luke, there was training. He lost a lot. With Rey, it was no training whatsoever. It's like immediately she was able to beat Kylo. She just thought
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's where I wanted to go. Okay, so let's go back. Let's talk about and let's kind of go through it a tad bit. We have Anakin, Anakin who lost. He did lose a lot, and he suffered through a lot of losing not only just his mother. He lost his mother. Of course, he lost his arm. He lost a father figure in Qui-Gon at that particular point, someone who, he grew an attachment to. And then there was a loss where he lost someone who considered like a father, but more so a brother.
His whole life is dictated by his losses.
Exactly. Let's move from there. And it's
more.
Exactly. So which gives him, in a sense, we understand that particular journey, his rise and fall through power itself. We go to Luke. Luke learning and basically being, he loses both Aunt Beru and Uncle Ben. He basically loses Obi-Wan, at that particular point, finds out that, someone who, who he was told one thing, learned another, and losing or finding out that Vader's his father. There's a conflict there. Losing someone who is basically supposed to be your master in Yoda. There's a lot of loss in these particular characters. As much as I love Rey, and I love the character of Rey, when we think about it, how much did she really, really, really lose? Because the thing is, yes, in Force Awakens, she drew off the power of the Force itself to help her defeat Kylo. We basically move fast forward to, the Last Jedi. What I'm trying to be, and the point that I'm actually getting to is how much loss did she really, really experience? She really didn't, there was not much hurt that she experienced, much loss that she experienced through the Force that would give her that, the learning experience, the learning curve, which these other two, the other two individuals experienced.
Well, the problem is she has nothing to lose. I mean, she's a scavenger. She's a scavenger. She has nothing.
It wasn't about loss for her. It was about a life of never
that's
having
the problem.
had.
But I get what you mean, Leo, 100%. She's got to have obstacles to overcome. I get it. But
it was obstacles, and I just think that there were certain things that they kind of made a tad bit too easy for her to overcome. I'm not going to call her. I don't like I said. I don't like the whole. I don't like the Mary Sue thing. I don't like it. I don't like naming her Mary Sue or anybody else for that.
I agree with you, man.
I don't like
using that. I don't like.
I don't like using that term.
We see, long lost twins or something, and each have the side of a medallion, and now they're all powerful. Come on, you grew up with that in the 80s and 90s.
I mean, I view it as kind of like I feel like
powers,
I feel like it's a retcon. Like she's a Palpatine, that's why she's so powerful. I get the lack of training, but Palpatine's a powerful dude.
But,
I mean,
let me ask you,
an uberly creative.
No, it's a retcon, no doubt.
Though? Like that doesn't bother you. Like what I'm saying? Like that it was a mistake, but you guys still accept that. See, for me, what? I can't. I'm just saying like that. Okay, they're just like threw in Palpatine, and they even
I didn't accept that shit at all.
I'm not talking about like the other two. I'm not talking about you. But I'm just saying, like, to Will and
I don't
Brandon,
think all retcons are accepting a mistake. It's just, I'm not calling what Rian Johnson did a mistake. I'm just saying it's not the way that JJ wanted to go, and so he had to kind of course correct. I don't think JJ would say that what Rian did was a mistake. And if Rian had the whole trilogy to do what he wanted, then he could have done what he wanted. It's more that JJ wasn't saying, "Oh, he screwed up." It was just, all right, well, that's not the way I'm going to go, so I have to figure out how to veer back this way.
I get what you're asking, though, PJ. It's a good question.
And here's my question: is that like I know we all enjoy Star Wars, we all enjoy Marvel, and all these things, right? So I've always wanted to ask this question, like because you guys, like for me, like I think I don't know if Brandon is, but. Lael and I are like hardcore Star Wars fans. Like we study the lore. Brandon is too. We study the lore, right? Like we're to the point where it's like I'm freaking reading a script that's not even like supposed to be like made in
you had John Boyega's script. That's what.
No, I'm talking about like. Actually, to be honest,
him and Tom Holland are just leaving stuff lying all over the place for people to pick up.
To be honest, I actually read the leak script.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, before I even watched the movie.
Oh, I would never, even if I
did. You know why? You know what it is, and I'm going to tell you guys why I read that script before I watched the movie. Mm-hmm. I thought it was like fake, right? I was like, oh, this is on Reddit. I was like, yeah, it's going to be fake,
like a lot of the Last of Us 2 leaks.
Yeah, so I was just like, well, it's just going to be like enjoyed reading, right? And I was like, you know what? I'll be okay. As I was watching the movie, I was like, oh shit, it's true. Like, oh my gosh, this is like they actually got the leaked script. And like, I'm glad that I did read it because I wasn't disappointed in the ending as I should have been.
How close was it to what you?
Oh, it was dead on. It was dead on.
Yeah.
It was dead on. Like I was like telling like my friend was like, he was getting pissed at me. I was like, yeah, this is gonna happen. He was like, what? Shut up. No, but like the thing was like, it was only once I did that in the whole movie. But I was just like, the whole movie, I was just like, oh my gosh, the ending is going to happen. But anyways. Mind you,
which made me, you know what, PJ, it kind of made me think that maybe John Boyega said he thought the same thing.
He like, did it on purpose.
He was like, did it on purpose.
He was like, I'm gonna leave this right
that
here.
shit in the
freaking
hotel.
He was obviously upset.
Well, I would be pissed.
Yeah.
Too. Like, wouldn't you be pissed?
Dirty.
I mean, wouldn't you be pissed? Like, Will, if you were told, like, dude, you're gonna be carrying the torch from all the. And that was your character the whole time. You yelling out for optical, the whole freaking movie,
which I do all the time. But
yeah, and I'll be leaving that script in the freaking the hotel motel, Yeah. Anyway, but the thing is, like I've always wanted to know, right? Like I love the MCU. I love Marvel. I'm not a big huge comic book reader. I'm not a big huge hardcore Marvel fan. Like others, right?
Yeah.
But I always wondered, like, is there a lot more casual Star Wars fans that love this movie as opposed to the hardcore Star Wars fans? And that's
there's definitely one hardcore Star Wars fan that loves it. Nicolio Productions is just raining praise on the movie in the chat. I mean, just look at all these comments. That's
no, PJ. I think most casual fans too probably were like pretty lukewarm on this. Like, I don't think they loved it either. Like, it made good money. I
just feel like there were a lot of casual fans that like got introduced into the universe and enjoyed it, and because it just wasn't because I just feel like it was one of those where they could actually jump in without understanding the lore. Like, they didn't have to watch the original or the prequels to totally understand what was going on with Rey. Like, they kind of like they made it look like the main characters, the original original trilogy 3, was like non-existent in these movies, right? And it was just like they were like more of like a side character. Like you knew it was Han, knew it was Leia, you knew it was Luke, right? Yeah. But you didn't have to know their full history to enjoy the movie, right?
Yeah.
And that was like my thing is like when I asked, like when I did WonderCon and I did a booth in WonderCon, right? And everyone came in. I always asked, the number one question I always asked was like, how did you feel about The Last Jedi? I always asked that with the casual Star Wars fans. I did my own poll, right? It was a casual and the hardcore. And I felt like a lot of the hardcore fans didn't like the movie just because they grew up with it. They understand Luke. They felt like Luke was like, betrayed with the sequel trilogies. They didn't get a chance to see the original 3 together. But then when you talk to the casual fans, I mean, there are hardcore fans that did like the sequel trilogy, and I'm not going to take that away.
But the most dissension will always come from the hardcore fans.
Yeah.
It's because you're passionate about it, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, like, and, there was, I hate bringing her name up, but KK did say that they wanted to forget about the hardcore fans and they wanted to concentrate more on the casual fans. But, with statements like that, it makes you think that what's Kevin Feige doing right? Where he could capture both hardcore and casual fans and still create this universe where everyone can totally like enjoy. Okay, there might be some things that they might have to change because given the situation, they didn't have X-Men, they didn't have all these like characters in, because of like the rights and stuff. But at the same time, they have
difference there though.
PJ, you know what he's doing right? He's a fan.
Exactly.
All right, yeah, but you got to understand something. One, what Kathleen Kennedy said, was not bad. She was honest to a fault. And so there are 2 points I want to make. One, and this goes back, it's another thing the all-powerful Freddie Prinze Jr. has said, is that, look, these movies, like this sequel trilogy, wasn't made for us. The prequel trilogy wasn't made for the people who grew up in the 70s and 80s with these movies. Each movie, whether it was under the Disney banner or anybody else, these movies are made to make more money for the company, but through merchandising. Merchandising is where Star Wars makes the most of its money. They're making these movies for the kids.
Okay, can I actually bring up that point and talk about it? So if that's the case, why weren't there a lot of sequel stuff being made and sold? If that's the case, why is fair
point
Target?
I think there was. I don't think it's sold as well. One, because they were trying to avoid spoilers by putting out, because Lego is notorious for putting out a Lego set that spoils something in a movie
question.
or whatever.
Yeah, because Mandalorian selling like hotcakes, the sequels did not sell.
Yeah,
I think it was the intent. I think they on the merchandising side they just stumbled. I think it was the intent. I think they just didn't execute it.
I just didn't think that they created characters that you have emotional connection with.
You know, besides me and you, Brandon.
You're making Finn
and
figures,
that's
right?
Where, right. But that's where what you said about Kevin Feige, Lael, that's where we have a difference here. Because now, what is the big thing that this sequel trilogy lacked that Kevin Feige has and reveres and respects? A source material roadmap. Okay, this Star Wars trilogy was an entirely new creation. Now they're being creative and doing new things based on what works well on the big screen and what works well based on the canon that they've already established in the MCU. But Lael, you and I are hardcore comics fans and readers for a long time, and we know. That's why you and I are so excited for this next phase and Shang-Chi and the Eternals, because we know how much rich storytelling that is available there. Star Wars doesn't have that. They're creating from scratch for this.
They do. I'm going to disagree with you, Brandon.
What do you mean the expanded universe of the novels?
They had the expanded universe and they just threw it out. They're like, nope, this is Legends. Like as soon as they bought it, this is Legends.
I agree that
you know why they threw it out though? That one of the biggest reasons why they actually threw it out is that George Lucas himself didn't like it. He didn't approve anything. No, but he didn't like any of the actual. He didn't like it. He didn't like anything.
1% of that expanded universe.
Yeah, but he basically the expanded universe. He might have actually approved it and say, okay, yeah, just run with it and do whatever. But there were certain things that he didn't like because he felt as though it deviated from the idea. So it was a lot of that he actually did throw out. He just, he
didn't really care about most stuff that was in comics or books, because for him, if it wasn't on the screen, then it wasn't really.
It really didn't matter.
I mean,
that's interesting. I didn't know that.
If that was the case, right, and Disney doesn't want to do anything that George Lucas has an idea with, why is that now we're still getting those stuff from the expanded universe? You know what I'm saying? Like you're still getting
because Disney can because they can put their own spin on it and then they can take ownership of it.
Yep.
That's what they didn't want to be locked in. It's not that they hated the stuff.
You don't have to be locked in.
They didn't want to be locked in.
You don't have to be locked in. I just think that you have that source material.
Right.
And the thing also, is,
the source material in that expanded universe, there's some good stuff, but it's not 80 years of Marvel comics that has a rich story. A lot of that expanded universe was doo-doo stew.
Like Old Republic and
and let me go back to the Marvel comics. There's a lot of stuff in the Marvel comics. You're like, Oh,
there's plenty of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot more that is good than Star Wars had.
I don't know, man.
I
definitely disagree because you got Knights of the Old Republic, you got all that. And
yes, you have Knights of the Old Republic, but Lael, how much is there with the Eternals and X-Men and old?
Yes, I totally agree.
So much more for Marvel.
Yes, there is so much more with the comic books.
But you know what? Listen, it's so much more with the comics that Kevin Feige is willing to allow, because number one, it does go back to the simple fact that there's source material, that stuff is there, but at the same time, he is still himself knowledgeable and a fan.
Yes,
and basically
he's also
because
just crazy talented.
Yeah, and him being a fan, he basically knows he has, and if the difference between him and Kathleen Kennedy is that he has a sense of direction and knows exactly where he wants it to go. The problem is, and the thing is, I'm not blaming, and I'm one that will not put a lot of blame on Kathleen Kennedy, because I think that her hands were tied, because you know what, and we said this before, Lucas basically sold that to them for $4.5 million. Okay, so basically he got bank off of that. What they're looking at is, okay, now we need this quick. We need to start putting out material quick. That's a lot of money that we got. We need to look. And they're like, you know what? Don't we want to just sit down and wait? He's like, F that. No, just give us some, we need to make that money back quick. And that was the downfall, is that they didn't take the time to go back, read these scripts, come up with certain ideas, make these movies cohesive. That's where they failed.
Leo, they did have it. George Lucas had the scripts for them. He had,
and they threw it out.
But I'm just not entirely sure they were good, PJ. Terrible. Like, I mean,
it was stupid. They threw it out.
I have not heard from a single person who's
they shouldn't have promised them they were going to use it. No doubt, if they weren't.
Though I have not heard a single.
Yeah, I think most people said it was garbage. I mean, like it was. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, the thing is, they threw it out. Okay.
But was this any better?
No,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like this was any better. Like
the thing is,
I think so. I think so too.
Here's the thing is that if you're gonna throw out his scripts, don't continue the trilogy. Just do the Mandalorian or do something else. Why do you have to bring back these characters? These the original three,
money.
Just to like. Yeah, and
absolutely, because the fans wanted Luke and Leia and Han.
They didn't give them the ones they wanted, but
right,
they wanted
Disney
them back
knew
on
if
the
they
screen,
gave them any semblance of Luke, Leia, and Han,
but no doubt, PJ, missed opportunity. Not having those
three
three on screen together is an insane missed opportunity.
It was a missed opportunity.
These are flawed movies, 100%.
Yeah, no doubt.
There are
Even
flaws in
that.
the original trilogy. Yeah, but I still love them. These are flawed movies. Ultimately, I think the one thing we all have to remember that. Whether they suck or whether they're amazing, if they didn't exist, we wouldn't get to do this. You wouldn't get to have these arguments with your friends and get heated and bust balls, and then you wouldn't get to enjoy. This is what the fandom is about. So it's okay that some stuff sucks.
No, can I actually, to be honest, like I really don't like the sequel trilogy. Like I rather it be erased so that I don't have to talk about it, because you know what it is.
Oh hell no!
I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm seriously. It's just what it is. Like I love Star Wars so much that when I watched the sequel trilogy, I'm telling you, I watch everything Star Wars. I read everything Star Wars. I love everything Star Wars. I might be biased, but I love everything Star Wars. I mean, I like.
You don't like the sequel trilogy.
Well, and that is that hurts. That hurts.
You want to, yes.
But that hurts. I'm jealous that you guys like it. I don't. I honestly don't. And the thing is that I will never ever forget that moment when I was leaving the movie theaters and my wife turns to me and goes, "Did you like the movie?" And as hard as it was to say no, because I really
single tear roll.
Yeah, I was like, I turned to her and I said, "No, I don't. I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't like this movie." And that just hurts. I would I feel the pain of Will when he goes, "I don't like The Last of Us 2."
You dig one in my side, PJ. You're crushing my heart, man.
But do you feel that pain?
I do. I know exactly what you mean. Yep.
He's got a portrait of Abby on his lower ab.
I just but I think I don't want to feel that pain, especially from some franchise that I absolutely love and hold dear to my heart.
I know exactly how that feels, PJ. Yeah.
But check it out. So this is, and like I said, this is coming from, like I said, truly a hardcore fan. As much as I don't really like, and like I said, I always take the Force Awakens out of it, because I actually thoroughly enjoyed the Force Awakens.
I enjoyed the
film.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the film for basically what it was. So I take that out of my distaste for, The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. But I will honestly say that with those particular films, the only thing that keeps me from not, borderline just kind of like just saying, F everything, is because I find certain things in those films to really gravitate to and to say that, okay, cool. The films may not have been great, but in the end, what film really, really, really is at the end of the day, because you're going to find flaws in them.
Yeah.
The lore of, but what I'm saying is basically the lore of Star Wars itself. I find things to really like. I find things to basically gravitate to. The Last Jedi, I gravitated and I loved, the throne room scene. I love basically that fight. I love the opening scene. Even like I said with the bombers, it was just the spectacle of that I loved, because it just brought me back to a certain level of nostalgia. The dialogue,
how many
I
times
didn't like
have you
too
watched
much.
the Rise of Skywalker? How many
The Rise
times
of
have you seen it,
Skywalker?
Leo? Yeah.
I haven't seen it as much as I've actually seen the
Like
Rise.
ballpark, how many times have you watched it?
Well, basically because I wanted to analyze and dissect, I probably say that I've watched it maybe about 4 or 5 times, and that's because I needed to dissect
for a movie that in a lot of ways
that
you
I
don't
like.
like. Even in this mythos with stuff that you don't like, there's still stuff in there to appreciate that draws you back to. So and maybe you appreciate it on that 4th or 5th viewing more than you did the first one, because you're finding some things that you can say, you know what, I can mess with that.
What? And how I do it is the first watch for me is just strictly just spectacle. I'm watching everything on screen. The second watch for me is listening to the dialogue, listening to certain things that I'm like, well, where does this make sense? Like, how did, from a writing standpoint, where were they going with that? And then, like I said, the third watch for me is to try to see how are they trying to make this cohesively fit with the other films, and if I can't see that, so I'm watching these things to try to analyze. Now, and with saying that, I watch it that many times doesn't mean that I necessarily like the film, but I'm trying to find certain things in it to appreciate. And the only thing
what's going to happen 10 years from now, we'll all appreciate the sequel trilogy more, because Dave Filoni is going to do stuff over the next 10 years.
That's PJ's hope, I think.
And that's what I'm hoping. And that's what I'm hoping.
I'm going to call it right now. I called it many live streams.
Call your shot, PJ.
Dude, I'm telling you, Ahsoka is going to correct everything.
Oh, you mean like all sequel trilogy?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's going to be there's like rumors right now that the Rangers of the Old Republic or whatever that show got,
that was scrapped.
Scrapped. Now, like, I think Dave and John are like getting ready to like jump into the Ahsoka show, because there's a lot riding, quote unquote, on that show. And I seriously can't wait to do to see what they're going to do with it. It's only a limited series. There's no like multiple seasons of this. This is going to be just.
They might be able to like get Rosario to come back. She's not going to commit to like, I'm going to do this for 5 years. I think if this does well, and then they fold it into the larger mythos, that there's a potential for another season, unless this shows like her demise.
There's probably going to be a Star Wars Avengers where they all fight Thrawn or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Honestly, I think that Jon Favreau, I think the rest of his filmmaking career is done. I think for the rest of his career, at least the next 10 years, he's not doing anything but Star Wars.
But
he's focused entirely on Star
Wars.
Wars.
To be honest, I wouldn't mind, because he's just like, just really like very creative and just loves Star Wars.
I mean, I wouldn't mind another Swingers, but
yeah, I mean, I love Swingers. That actually people don't understand. Actually forgot like how great of a writer and director he was because of that movie.
Also, he's in Rudy.
He was in Rudy.
Definitely in Rudy. Yeah, he was definitely in Rudy.
You can sleep on that.
Yeah, but and for me, it's just that like I'm with you, Leal, but I can't. I really can't. Yeah. With the
and I understand that. I really truly understand that.
And I totally agree. Like, you accept flaws and you take the good with it. Like, with the prequels, I absolutely understand and know that the dialogue sucks, and that's because of George Lucas. He wanted to write this.
He finally admits it, Leo.
No, I've been saying that though.
Yeah,
no, I'm just
you know what? But like, and we agree though, the dialogue sucked, but those movies were cohesive.
Thank you.
I agree. Those
imagine the
movies
story
were
direction by
cohesive.
George Lucas.
How's that not cohesive? Can you tell me how
the first two are cohesively bad? Like
okay, but you're judging it from a like
the first two prequels.
Yeah,
I think they're bad films. Like I just think they're not well paced. They're not good stories.
Okay,
I'll
but
tell you what the absolute worst part of the prequels is the lightsaber fights.
I get what you mean, PJ. Cohesive in the sense that like the larger narrative is there. Like I get what you mean in that.
Like the storyline,
but yeah,
like you know, I'm just saying, like
you know where it's going, right?
Yes, but you're talking about like from I don't want to say visual because it was visually pleasing. I think like more of like an acting, screenplay writing,
right,
maybe producing, because George did it all. Like you know, like this is like the first time that he actually has like full hands-on, hands-on with the creating the whole thing, and I just think he just overdid it. You know, like I wish he kind of gave someone like a job to write the script, right? And someone else, like you could see it in behind the scenes where he's coming out. Oh, I wrote the fight scene, like you know, and you're like, really, dude? Like
George Lucas also got so enamored with the technology that was available to him for the prequel trilogy that wasn't available to him in the OG trilogy.
Right.
The issue there, and it's one of the reasons why if you go back now, you watch them in 4K. The original trilogy looks better visually than the prequel trilogy, is because those 4K remasters, the practical effects and then the models that they used for a lot of the effects and stuff in the OG trilogy look way better than the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Because the prequel trilogy, he really wanted to lean hardcore into digital filmmaking before it was really like where it is now is amazing. Where it was in the late 90s and early 2000s, you look at a lot of those effects, especially like the Gungan battle in the Phantom Menace. It's hot garbage. Right. It's a dumpster fire. Like those effects do not age well right now, and you're like, how does this movie that came out in 1980 look better than the movie that came out in 1999? It's because George, and I think that distracted him in some respect, not in everything, but I think he got so enamored with a lot of the CG and the digital filmmaking that doesn't remaster well today, that he started going for story based on technology rather than coming up with a story and then figuring out visually how to show it.
Right. And my point, PJ, like, is I think I agree with you. It's a great question. Like, I think it's cohesive concept, not cohesive storytelling. Like, that's my point. Like, he had a cohesive idea, like where the trilogy's going, but the way the story is told is not cohesive. Like, it's all over the place.
Because he's not a good
that's my point.
Listen, I'm gonna say so. With the prequels, we had, in regardless of how you basically want to say it, we had a beginning, we had a middle, and an end. Sure. With the sequels, we had a beginning. We had is this still the beginning? And then with the third one, we had, well, it might be possibly this is the end, but is it? Like, that's just the way I actually saw it. It, regardless of the storytelling, we knew the direction the story was about Anakin Skywalker, his rise and fall and where he was actually going. So we knew that. Now, here's the thing, and I will honestly admit this as a fan, as someone who is a hardcore fan of Star Wars, the biggest problem with us as hardcore fans, right or wrong, is that it's hard for us to accept change. Plain and simple. It is hard for a lot of us to accept the simple fact that, yes, some people will take these films in a totally different direction, whether we accept it or not. And most of us will not accept it because we still live off of the nostalgia of the original films. That's just how it works. But I mean, like I said, right or wrong, they're going to do that. I mean, just like I read that article and I put it up the other day about the acolytes and what the director said when she brought the writers in. She wanted to bring writers in that knew nothing about Star Wars. She brought them in just to basically see. So I read it in my feelings, and I just put it up. I just said thoughts, but I didn't give my feeling on what I really thought about it. I just wanted to see what everybody else felt. But I'm like, okay, cool. It's okay to bring directors in that know nothing about it, as long as, or writers in that know nothing about it, as long as you as the director or even someone else can say, okay, cool, you may not know anything, but let me just give you the history so you can understand and then kind of like just work around that. Because if you don't give them history and you just allow them to write, it's going to be a bag of bullshit. That's just my opinion.
You want the balance. Yeah. You want the respect for it with the fresh take.
Exactly.
You want to be able to bring those together.
Exactly.
And you have to do it the right. You can't just go all fresh take. You don't know anything about the rich history of Star Wars, but you can't also go just as somebody who's just going to pay fan service and sacrifice a better story that you're going to get. So
that's why I think Favreau and Filoni are perfect balance. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah,
absolutely,
and that's why I'm so happy that even though he's probably had the job for a very long time, that Filoni is a creative director or producer.
He's like creative director or something. He's like,
he's probably already doing.
It's crazy, and you know what?
Of Star Wars.
And you know what? It is crazy that Filoni comes in and gives us a better understanding of the Lord and the Creator. Yeah. He does. He technically does.
George is basically his right-hand man.
He gives us a better understanding. Like, seriously, like he does, because he breaks it down from not only just us from a story aspect of it, but even from an emotional connection to the story. Like, he's
20
basically
years after the Phantom Menace, he gave me a whole new appreciation
for
talking about the Duel of the Fates.
Yeah,
that was great. That really meant. And then I went and I rewatched it, and I was like, holy shit, this is so much more impactful.
Yeah, weird that wasn't communicated more in the film.
The thing is,
which is a flaw in the filmmaking at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
And the thing is, people were like bashing on Hayden Christensen back then, for his acting. But
I never had a problem with him.
No, but me too.
Yeah.
And
he was whiny, but that's how George wrote the character.
Yeah.
Yes, but the thing is, you have to understand, where this character has come from. Like, he's come from with no father, born into slavery. Like,
he's immature. He doesn't have. You're exactly right, PJ. He was an immature kid.
Yeah,
but that's why he was able to become Vader.
Yes, but and the thing is that, you have to put yourself in that position where you're like, and to fully understand the character is like, he was, he sees his mom die, like he can't prevent his mom from dying. He can't do this, he can't do that, and he's just so been limited this whole time. So that when opportunity came, when someone was like, "Hey, man, you want to here's the keys to the car to the Corvette, you want it?" And without having any driver's license or anything. But anyways, that's probably a bad analogy. But anyway,
at least you didn't say anything about feet.
Steer back, PJ. Steer back.
Yeah, the thing is that
feet.
The thing is that
no, don't do that. Don't start it. Oh,
I know.
No.
The thing is that that's why sometimes with Hayden, he's a great actor. He was nominated for a Golden Globe. Dude, you really have some nasty ass feet, dude. Yeah.
I will snatch your sack off like a paper towel. Knock that off.
Yeah, just disappeared.
Yeah, don't.
Did we lose viewers or gain them? I feel like we gained them, honestly, if anything.
I think you probably, dude, you lost 4 viewers, dude.
No, I think if anything, it's gonna start shooting up. They're gonna be like, "Oh, someone said there were feet here." Anyway, PJ, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but and I think that's why, you're saying from a dialogue standpoint, I think it was meant to be. He was meant to be wrote like that, because you understand this guy has no emotion. He's no everything was taken away from him. His freedom, his mom, his love. It's just, so.
No, I don't know. I think, like I said, man, it's just when we look at these films and we're viewing it, as fans, we're viewing it from a certain, like I said, it's all about vantage point and how each of us actually sees it, and we all will have different perspective of how we actually see these films. Some people will love it, some people will hate it. And it's not to say that there's a wrong way to watch or view these films or even actually have an opinion. I obviously did not like, The Last Jedi. I obviously did not like The Rise of Skywalker, but I mean, I can appreciate that with The Last Jedi, there was an attempt to do something that was totally different, totally away from the norm. You know what I mean? I will say that, though I have my love and I do like, I did enjoy, The Force Awakens, it was nostalgia, but then there's like, is there too much nostalgia where you're basically just leaning on or playing it safe, just bringing in certain things? So I'm like, okay, cool. I can understand the attempt. Let's see where it goes. We get The Last Jedi and it's like, okay, I see this. And then you do what you do with Luke. I'm not going to get into that discussion because I already have my feelings on what they did with Luke and my personal connection to Luke as a character. Then we basically get to the, Rise of Skywalker. And it's just like, okay, where is the connection? Like, where is this? It's like you can feel that there was something completely missing in their attempt to make a film connect with the other ones. It was like, it just wasn't there. It's like every film to me felt like a standalone. That's what it felt like. It was just like standalone films.
I agree. And you know what? You totally agree. Like every film has its flaws, right? When it comes to Star Wars, you're not going to get an Academy Award winning film. That's just plain and simple. Unless you really make like something cool like The Mandalorian.
Come direct one.
Yeah. But you just kind of like have to go into these films and understand that, right? Like you're like, okay, it's going to be about laser swords and all.
Space wizards.
Yeah. And Force, right? So you kind of have to tune your brain to understand that, right?
Yeah, when people argue about realism in Star Wars, I'm like, come on, really?
Yeah.
Space and laser swords, exactly. Realism, let's pump the brakes on that.
Yeah. So, and that's what I came for the prequels. Like people were complaining about the dialogue, but for me as a Star Wars film, it hit all the right points. You know what I'm saying? Like. Those were the
Isn't
points.
Isn't it amazing how everybody loves Jar Jar now, by the way?
Yeah, I've always liked Jar Jar. I don't understand.
But so many people hate
but the thing is, and that's what it comes down to, right? Like that was my question: is that, is it casual fans that are saying all this and are loud about it, or is it hardcore fans?
Casual fans aren't loud.
No, they aren't loud about anything because they just don't give a shit.
I need to answer this question.
Yeah, I want to answer this question too. Guys, here's the question.
Exactly.
You said Will, Nerd, Brendan, 160. Answer me this, please. For those who travel movie, why do folks rush out and buy the figures? Please answer that. PJ said FOMO. I'm going to say that's definitely part of it. I'm going to say sometimes they're just really good figures and people like the look of characters. And people like characters more than the films.
What Lael has said, though, he loves the character of Rey. That doesn't mean he liked what they did with Rey.
Some of their parts.
I love the character of Finn, and I wish they would do a decent hot toy of Finn, and I'd buy it.
Exactly.
But I can admit that they didn't do him justice in the movies. If you you could like the character without necessarily liking
the film or liking the direction of where they take it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I don't love The Last Jedi, but I got the Praetorians because they're badass.
And that's the thing, and that's why I wanted to say, I got these figures because number one, I can recreate my own perception of these particular characters. I can create my own scenes. I like basically the way the figures looked. I like the design. Seriously.
If you hate a character, then getting that, it doesn't make sense. But you can love the character, hate the film, and get it. I know plenty of people that didn't like Hellboy.
I only got it to review it.
The Hellboy hot toy
PJ's different.
But
also,
I'm about to buy Terry's Hellboy figure because, like I said, I just have an idea of what I would want to do with it.
And Brendan, I have Last of Us 2 statues. I obviously hate the game. I have Last of Us 2 guitar. I have some tattoo from the game. There are things I like.
You
from
like the gameplay, right? You don't. It's the story.
Yeah, I like the game. Well, there are aspects from the story I like.
Brilliant.
Yeah, the gameplay is amazing. But and I love aspects of the story, some things, but I can also separate that. And I take, like PJ and Lael said, take things from those characters from those films. And I would never buy an Abby, obviously, but
I would buy an Abby so.
I'm gonna buy you one, Will.
Brendan, don't you dare send me one. I'll send it right to
I'm gonna buy you a life-size Abby.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna commission it.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I will buy. Yeah. I will buy like a portrait on eBay of Abby, and I will buy like a Fison body. I will use the strong
the M23 or whatever.
Yeah,
the one
like that.
We're gonna do one of those apps. We'll have like a picture of Will and a picture of Abby, and then they put them together to see what their kids would look like.
No.
Oh, that would.
When I first meet Leia, I bet when I meet PJ at New York Comic Con, I'll have an Abby figure for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I will.
Hey, Brendan, are you going to Comic Con, bro?
I don't know.
We're trying to go.
I usually go to the one here in Boston, and I love it.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm fully vaccinated. I'm not sure that because it's such an international event and stuff. I don't know if I'm there yet. I'm like, especially with I have two kids who are too young to be vaccinated just yet. So, like, and I'm not a hypochondriac and stuff. I believe in moving back to normal safely and stuff like that. I don't know, especially, and my wife is a teacher and she's got her own kids, her own students to deal with. I don't know if I'm going to be ready by then to go back to a massive event like that.
Yeah, I got you.
So we'll see. But I mean, if not this year, definitely next year I'll be doing Boston. I'll be doing New York. So I'm not going to be able to make it out to Celebration. I wish I could, but just scheduling doesn't work for me. But yeah.
So guys, I think we got like one last topic here before we wrap this up. But like we talked about a little bit changing perception over the time. Like PJ, I want to start with you on this one because I know your kind of thoughts on The Last Jedi. You don't think it will, but kind of what we've seen with the prequels. I know Brendan thinks so, but I want to let PJ kind of have the floor on this one. PJ, do you think like with the sequel trilogy, but definitely just Rise of Skywalker specifically, do you think they're gonna evolve over time in people's mind and like appreciate, or they're gonna depreciate and get worse or stay the same? What do you think?
I think it's going to appreciate with some help. I think Filoni
with Ahsoka.
Yeah, I just think that Filoni and Favreau, they have something up in their sleeves. It's been like, there was a reason why they I always say this, like with the Ahsoka show, the poster is the world between worlds. Like you wouldn't put that there unless it means something. And if you guys are not familiar with World Between Worlds, it's almost like a time travel like area, right?
Okay.
Like they could go into like different.
They can course correct using that. Seriously.
There you go. But the rumor is it's going to course correct, but not really like affect.
Yeah.
It won't really affect the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
It's kind of gonna give like everyone like their cake and eat it too. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's. I feel like if that happens, I think that people will have a much better appreciation of the movies, and we could start moving forward. To be honest, I just want to move forward from the Skywalkers in terms of like future trilogies. I don't want any more because I just don't have the confidence with them doing another trilogy. And it's, if it's going to be another trilogy, it has to be away from the saga. Like move
forward, move backward, KOTOR.
KOTOR. Absolutely. I totally agree.
Even if they do move forward, I think Skywalkers are done. Yeah, I think it's done.
I just think that
they have to be. You got it.
They have to be at this point for us to move forward, just because there's, those things like you kind of want, okay, you love them and you just want to put it right here in your heart and close it up. And that's it. You don't want it to be touched. You don't want to, you already have this idea about Skywalkers and Anakin and Luke. Like you just don't, you know what I'm saying? Although I'm really excited for the Kenobi show because I think that's going to elevate Anakin's stock, meaning like with just like people are loving that character even more. And
that's something too that the Kenobi in those shows, they can still give us that Skywalker adjacent content and feel while we move forward with something else as the main focus
with the trilogy movies and stuff. And I think I'm welcome. I'm open-minded. I've always been, and I'll welcome it that way. And that's one thing we know with these movies. I didn't hate it like right away. Like I seriously like lay out. I dissected it. I studied it. Try to make sure that I really dislike this movie.
Did you like it more or less over time?
Less. Like
you actually found more that you disliked it the more you watched it.
Yeah, so that's why, like, when Will's like, "Oh, go watch it again," I just don't want to. Like, I'm ready at that point. I just don't want.
I don't want to dislike it anymore. So
yes,
I wasn't gonna make you watch it again for this live stream.
Yeah, but I still have it up here. I'm
you know
a
what?
Star
To
Wars
appreciate
fan,
the light, you need the dark. Maybe you need a bad Star Wars movie every so often
to make you
really
appreciate the
good one.
Yeah, and you know what?
Just go watch Rogue One again.
We need a bad Star Wars villain, like a female Star Wars villain. Like, to be honest, if Rey turned into the dark side,
I said that before you came on.
That
PJ.
would be so. Oh my god!
I want a dark side Rey hot
before you came on, because you were, in some sort of time vortex. We I said that imagine if Rey turned to the dark side and then she ended up killing Kylo Ren, and it was Finn that had to step up and bring her back or kill her.
Well, you know what, cool. Brandon? You just wrote a better
but I think I think people like. I actually think people like Kylo, and I think some people would have been disappointed with that. Like, I think maybe if Kylo still somehow played in the story, like maybe he turned good. I mean, I love Kylo.
I think he would have kind of come back as Ben, but then she would have killed him, or he would have sacrificed himself.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Maybe in the last one,
the Republic or like the Resistance. Yeah, you can still do right by Adam Driver and Kylo Ren in that capacity. Do you think that we get a dark side Rey as Toy Fair exclusive?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
PJ says, yeah. I trust PJ.
Eventually,
PJ has inside knowledge half the time, so if he says yes, I'm going to say yes, but I would say no.
If they gave us dark side Anakin, dude, it would be easy repaint of this portrait.
But my question is, does Hot Toys think she's popular enough to justify it? Like, Anakin's more popular than
Rey. Maybe, but that's why I think that there's a good chance at a Cobb Vanth Toy Fair exclusive.
Yeah, Cobb Vanth would make more sense to me.
That's easy.
That's so easy. Because it's so easy. If you don't have to do a Timothy Olyphant portrait, but if you do, I'll buy that because I love Timothy Olyphant as an actor.
Oh, he's great.
So, but if you don't, but you don't have to. You could you already have the Boba Fett armor that they're using in the season 2 Boba Fett figure. You put that on a skinnier body. Yeah. You've got Cobb Vanth, because right now I basically have my Sideshow Mythos Fett as like a Cobb Vanth kind of in my display, cool. But like beautiful figure, horrible engineering. The body is it's like a wet noodle.
But I'm actually playing with this figure.
But it's a gorgeous figure, but it's one of those ones where once you get it posed, you literally I'm never going to touch that.
No, you're not going to touch
hands off
joints.
Okay.
It's brutal, but it's gorgeous. But a Cobb Vanth, I think, could be because look at what do we get every year for Toy Fair exclusives? You always get an Iron Man. There will be some sort of Iron Man. For the last, I think, 6 years in a row, there's been a Toy Fair exclusive Iron Man, right? So you get one of those, and then you get at least one other one that takes assets that they already have, and some like the Dark Side Anakin, which is a variant of the Light Side one that we got. There's, the reissue of Whiplash with the updated paintwork and stuff. There's what else? They did a couple different, like Rescue Cap was a Toy Fair exclusive. The Stan Lee, they did, the Barber one from the, when they had the Spaceman like sculpt and stuff already. So like they typically give us like one Iron Man and then at least one figure that they already had pre-existing assets for. And Cobb Vanth is an easy one for them to do. So is Rey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but PJ, over time, you're like, maybe you're thinking we'll appreciate if they sort of rework the timeline a little bit and do some Ahsoka stuff and let Filoni work his magic.
People are starting to, people love the prequels now because they saw like the sequels are like, oh, actually the prequels are not that bad. Actually,
I get what you mean.
And but I don't think it's gonna go that way with the sequels. I just think that Dave Filoni is going to help the sequels. Gotcha. Dave Filoni loves Star Wars as much as we do. Dave Filoni doesn't want to see anything that like fail in Star Wars. So they're after the Mandalorian season 3, they're gonna really concentrate on Ahsoka, from what I heard. So
okay. So Leia, what do you think, man? Do you think this sequel trilogy and just Rise of Skywalker is gonna change over time and how we perceive it?
I think it'll change for some. I think basically over time, of course, they'll probably introduce ways to kind of not course correct, but just, like I said, Filoni help us to better understand, through dialogue, where they were going with it. I do agree that basically after, these, sequels, they have to kind of end that Skywalker bloodline and just not really kind of go in and mention that. We need to basically introduce new characters, new journeys. The hard part is, it is going to be hard to basically do these films without mentioning a Skywalker. I mean, that's just the way it will probably end up. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have to see a Skywalker. It's just going to be kind of hard to do without mentioning Skywalker and what happened in the past. I'm hoping that they're able to move on from it and just mainly create new things. I know for me, as far as my perception of the film, I put it I'm not going to say it'll probably help me to gain a level of appreciation for it, but not in a sense where it's going to change my perspective of how that film sits in the trilogy. You know what I mean? And the attempt and what they've actually done with it. I can't say that, but for other people it may. And with Filoni, there is hope that there may be certain changes in certain things that may be done. Hopefully, if they're going to make any type of change and make anything or correct anything, I'm hoping more so with Finn. I'm hoping that we can get a better story with Finn, you know, as a character. If John Boyega is willing to do it, you know, maybe, you know, just see him, you know, because we already know he's force sensitive. We know basically him and what was the other character's name? I forget her name. She was a trooper as well. You know,
one that they alluded to being Lando's long lost daughter.
Yeah,
somehow.
they kind of made that.
They made it, you know, sort of whatever. But
ambiguous,
you know,
they said after the fact that like that's what they were actually trying to allude to. So
but we know that exactly. But we know that, you know, she was force sensitive as well. You know what I mean? So we're learning that there are, you know, individuals in the galaxy itself around that time who, you know, what the Force Awakens did was the Force awoken in them, that they completely made a decision at that particular point, and now they're, you know, they're sensitive. I'm hoping that we can mainly explore something like that, you know, rather than just going back and just, you know,
if that happens, it's gonna end up being in like comics and stuff, which I'm okay with.
Oh yeah,
I don't see them doing like a Disney Plus TV series with Finn, for example, because I don't see how you can tell more of his story moving forward without having Rey there.
Yeah. I do, but
you know what? Developing as a Jedi.
But I do. I think that there is a way to basically tell his story without actually having Rey in the picture, because I think that they tried, in a sense, they made the attempt to do that in these films by giving him his own separate journey, even though they brought him back, you know, to Rey. I think that they can do it, and there's a way to do it. How? I don't know. It's just going to take really, really good writers. But again, it's like they're going to have to separate it, you know, or separate his story in a sense from Rey. And because the thing is, if you're bringing Rey in, she's already said, look, Rey Skywalker at the end of that, you know, that film. So now we know that she's taking on that lineage herself. But I mean, it may change the perspective for some, you know, and it may not for others. It is a good thing that we have somebody like Dave Filoni that's around that can possibly make sense of all the mistakes that were. And, you know, again, I'm trying to refrain from saying mistakes, because a mistake for me may not have been a mistake for other individuals. In my opinion, and from my vantage point, I think that there was certain mistakes from a character perspective and missed opportunities for a character. You know what I mean? Hopefully Dave Filoni can make sense of those things. You know what I mean? In the end,
Dave,
but again,
we trust.
And Dave, you know,
absolutely.
that, you know, and the
John.
thing is, and John, you know, most definitely, I know that, you know, those two together can, you know, make something extremely special. But I will agree, we need to go back to KOTOR, man. They basically mentioned that, and there's so much rich story with KOTOR, so many different directors, character development, so many different things that we can actually get from that, just from that storyline alone.
It's also a palate cleanser, so it's not everything is Skywalker related.
Right.
Exactly.
At least at minimum, we're getting a remake of the game, so I'm happy with that, at least for the time being.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't.
Dude,
God,
remake of that game with like updated graphics and stuff, like with PS5, like that's gonna be sick.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
But so Leo, you think overtime maybe a little bit, but maybe we just need a little bit of course correction by Filoni.
It may be for some, you know, I think basically it over time, it, you know, because for me, again, I go back, and if I watch it, it's still going to probably give me the same feeling. Now, here's the thing, because we're all guilty of it. Star Wars film comes on, regardless of how bad it is, we'll watch it. If it's on television, we'll watch it. And basically, even if I need something in the background, just noise itself, I'm going to watch the film. So if it's on, I'll probably be forced to watch it because of my love for Star Wars. Doesn't mean that I'm going to love it, but I'm going to have an appreciation for it because it's there. You feel me?
Well, so, I'm going to do usually when the Rise of, or the Last Jedi movie comes on, I get up, get my remote control, and put on Goonies. Now,
oh, you turn it to the foot channel?
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
No. But anyway, layout. So yeah, I think I understand where you come from. But Brendan, so what do you think, Brendan? Like, appreciation in time. What do you think about it?
I think you will not convert the PJs of the world. And there's nothing wrong with that.
They're dug in.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with saying, I didn't vibe with this.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay. I think over time, the fandom at large, I think will move in the direction of not necessarily loving, but embracing them more positively, the same way that they have if you look at the prequel trilogy. Trilogy was not popular among the larger fandom when they first came out. Each one people were excited for, and they're like, that wasn't good. I remember after the not the Phantom Menace, after Attack of the Clones, so many people that I knew were just like, I thought that like, all right, the Phantom Menace was just kind of like a little stumble out of the gate, but then this one was going to be the empire, of this trilogy. It was going to be, and people were disappointed. Now I look back at it and there's so much prequel love.
Right.
I think it's going to be the same thing. It's with the sequel trilogy, and but whether that proves true 10, 20 years from now or not, I think unequivocally this is the best time to be a Star Wars fan because you're getting so much content that there are going to be some swing and misses. There are going to be some things that you don't vibe with. But if you don't have Disney right now owning this and making these movies, you don't get The Mandalorian, or you don't get The Book of Fett, or you don't get Rogue One, or
Ahsoka,
whatever these things. Exactly, Ahsoka. I can't wait for that. I think Rosario
even
Dawson
Kenobi
is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah,
exactly. And to me, Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time, and that was under the Disney ban. Right? Actually, I wouldn't have gotten that if it weren't for what
PJ,
we're
you
living
like Rogue
in right
One,
now.
don't you?
Well, here's the thing. For me, I did like Rogue One, and for me, that was the thing. As much as I love Star Wars, I just didn't like how George handled the prequels. Meaning, not with the story, just with him kind of like taking everything and doing everything himself, right? Yeah. Like instead of like kind of like delegating.
It would have been better if he didn't direct. If he had somebody else come in.
Like Empire was directed by George, and it was incredible. Yeah,
and it was arguably the best one of the originals.
No, Empire, it wasn't directed by George.
That's what I'm saying. He did direct it. And it turned out great.
And then Return wasn't directed by George.
Yeah, he directed New Hope, didn't he?
Yeah. He just didn't know.
Yeah, right. But New Hope was great. But Empire is like, most people's consider that like almost consensus is Empire is the best Star Wars movie.
Absolutely.
And he didn't direct it. So, I mean, that's why I feel like you guys are right. He shouldn't direct, but he should come up with ideas, but not direct.
Yeah. And,
right, exactly.
For me, like, I actually did, back in high school and college, I did take filmmaking classes and film classes. And, that was the thing, when my professor would show us, like, when it comes to appreciating Star Wars, they would put on New Hope, not because of like, okay, the dialogues. It was more so like what that movie did in terms of advancing technology with the movie industry, what it did to the movie industry, because there was nothing like it was ahead of its time.
Oh yeah.
And
just the opening scene of A New Hope. With that ship and it's the destroyer, and it keeps going and going and going like that. Right, the opening shot just blew people away.
Yeah. But I just think that like for when that was the notion when Disney bought Star Wars, a lot of people were excited just because we knew that Disney had the resources to make great films. All they needed was George to provide them, or just have someone like a Filoni provide them good story and be guided by Filoni or by Favreau or by George to help them, take Star Wars to the next level. I just think that maybe it's because of money. It's always become because of money.
Deborah Chow.
Yo, she's gonna kill Kenobi.
Deborah Chow's gonna kill Kenobi.
They're Sith Inquisitors, right?
Yes.
I saw the pictures. Yeah.
There's Sith Inquisitors in the show. They're thinking
Wait. What you mean you saw pictures?
Yeah, there were leaked photos. You haven't seen those? Like
Oh,
set
the
photos.
Inquisitors?
Of
Pretty
them,
sure I saw
of
one.
like them walking.
They're walking to
like,
set. Yeah.
Yeah,
But no. You actually saw an Inquisitor?
No, I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure I saw one. I don't know. I saw Ewan McGregor. I saw the girl from Game of Thrones. She was not an Inquisitor, but
you could see like her like the boots for coming out of.
Yeah,
like,
she
the
was
robe
like
or
she's
something,
like
and
an
you're
Imperial
it's an
something.
Inquisitor, like,
Yeah.
But one of them, I thought I said maybe I did, but I swore I saw a picture of Inquisitor.
I
too,
think
like, one mindset.
what's her
like
name
they had
is
like
an
ponchos
Inquisitor.
on, so you can't see their full
yeah,
outfit.
like big,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
hooded things.
Yeah, but I
Basically
mean,
Jedi
I
or Sith
think
robes.
it's confirmed that the Inquisitors are going to be in this show.
Yeah,
Are
it
they
is.
looking for
It
Kenobi?
is.
You think?
Maybe Sarah Michelle Gellar will be
most-
in there. She was an Inquisitor. In the
Yeah, and
Rebels.
Are they looking for Luke or are they looking for Kenobi?
They're looking
or-
for all Jedi, period.
they're looking for all
yeah.
Jedi, dude.
Okay, just any
Well,
Jedi.
no, because at the time Vader doesn't know that Luke exists
Yeah,
They
at
don't.
the time, so
Yeah.
they wouldn't be looking for
For
Luke.
Luke
They'd be
at all.
looking
Because
for
Luke's going to be like
Kenobi.
really young in this, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I think.
I think he's probably going to be a couple years old. Yeah, he's
Okay,
going to be
yeah.
like a little kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make
We
sense
see him
that
at all.
Vader's. Yeah, it would make sense that Vader's looking for Obi-Wan because of because he knows
Right, he wants to
Obi-Wan
settle
is
the
still
score,
alive.
alive.
Yeah.
He could also and he remember at the time Vader also knows that Ahsoka's out there, so they could be looking for Ahsoka too.
Yeah, they said they've already said like definitively there is a Vader Obi-Wan rematch. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that,
they
that's
did say
definitely
that.
in the show.
Which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I can't
That's going to
believe-
be in this film.
I was going to ask you guys
Yeah.
in the show.
So then- so-
does that
so-
work with the continuity of A New Hope though? Because don't they kind of
yeah,
it-
it does.
it-
It
it
I
can
thought they
work.
kind of
It can
indicated they
work.
haven't seen
No,
each other since. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I
We
mean?
don't, but we
all he
don't
said-
know that.
See, the
Remember,
thing is,
all he says when they meet in A New Hope is that
Is the last time we met.
you were the
Oh.
master. Now I. you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So I guess that's
so
vague
they
enough
could've-
that you could. Yeah.
So,
yeah,
so what that could be is that Obi-Wan kicks his ass in this show, and
Right.
Obi-Wan proves that he's still the master, that Darth Vader is not yet there.
I guess you have to write it that way. Yeah.
well, and you know,
Yeah.
you have to see the timeline. This is only
Yeah.
taking place 8 years after the Revenge of the Sith.
Is that what
Okay.
they said? It's 8 years?
Yeah, 7 or 8 years, but it's not that long. Like 7, 8 years. Like Darth Vader's not going to be like the master. And
No. And so Luke is about the same age that Anakin was when they found him in the Phantom Menace then.
Yep, it's going to be a young Luke. We don't know how he looks like, but yeah, I think there's going to be like a lot of off-world like fights. Like I think Kenobi's going to probably like not try to lead the Inquisitors to Tatooine. He's probably going to like fly out. He's probably going to do a
Yeah.
job. And like some major job that's going to be like the difference maker in terms of like them finding Luke or something.
Do you think
I
this
agree
series takes place mostly on Tatooine, or are we
No,
going to be
probably-
moving around?
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be moving around.
around.
I think they're going to
Think
be
so?
moving around. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they
hope
can't-
so because here's the thing, and this is what I keep telling people. And I've talked about this before, bro. Obi-Wan, whether they want to say it or not, he still has Grievous's ship. He does. He still has. He left. He still has General Grievous's ship. So I mean,
Yeah.
he has a way to get off world if he wants to. So I'm thinking that basically he may travel. He may even try to basically steer people away from Tatooine because
Yep.
it might be a sense that he's there. So you never know. Like I think that there's so many
You
ways
don't want
that they
anyone
can-
coming near Luke. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't think that they're going to actually have everything done strictly on Tatooine. I think he's going to actually go off world. He's going to have to probably go. Hell, you know what? They might even secretly. Well,
I've heard a Darth Maul connection could happen too. Darth Maul
but
might show up.
see,
This series takes place before Darth Maul goes to Tatooine and has his final
Yeah.
battle with
Yes.
with Luke.
Yes.
Though.
Right,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
that's
with
kind of
Obi-Wan.
where I heard the continuity
Like
come into play. But
years
they said they
before.
could just be like,
Yeah.
screw it, we're gonna do it anyway. So
They might do
They-
it as.
I
they
don't
might-
think Filoni will do that because Filoni is the one who orchestrated that whole showdown with them in.
Yeah, and that was classic.
in-
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
it was. It was very quick, but
Yeah.
it was amazing. Yeah. I mean,
if
I
you
saw the
listen
YouTube
to
cut.
Dave Filoni's breakdown of why that wasn't some big drawn out battle and why it happened the way it did,
He goes to
Yeah.
the Qui-Gon
Oh,
move
cool.
again.
Yeah.
it's amazing.
it's so cool.
The funny
Yeah.
thing is like when I watched that when it first aired, and I remember a lot of people. I was having discussions on obviously on Facebook, like with a lot of people, like I hate this. This is so stupid. It went so fast, and I was like, and this is before I even watched any of that stuff. Like I knew because like I know all the forms of the sabers, and Kenobi is like he's a form 3. It's a defensive form. He's mastered that, and like the fact that like you see him going from his original stance to like Qui-Gon's stance is just like to draw like Maul out.
He baits him.
He tried to do, and Maul tried to do that same move.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you.
Basically, I reserve final judgment on anything Star Wars related until I hear Dave Filoni explain it to me.
Explain it.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
He's brilliant. He's brilliant.
Is the Kenobi series now? Like, do we know how many episodes Hayden Christensen and Vader are in? Is he like
not yet?
I think it'll be like maybe one or two,
bad along with an Inquisitor, or is there another villain we don't know about?
Well,
I don't know. I think it would probably be him and the Inquisitors.
Yeah. Oh, which I just
I can't wait.
Bro, I cannot wait.
I can't wait.
Does it come out at the end of the year or next year?
Next year.
It's next year. It's after
Book of Boba.
It's after Book of Boba.
Oh, wait,
Book of Boba.
No. It's Book of Boba, Andor, and then Kenobi.
Okay. Yeah. So Book of Boba's the end of the year.
So,
like December.
So Mando season 3 isn't going to be until like end.
Yeah, Mando season 3 is going to be a while. Yeah. And Paige, they're filming Last of Us now, aren't they?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he is. That was his main. That was his priority. They had already said that was his priority.
I can't wait for that,
dude. I honestly can't either.
I really can't wait for a live action.
They're still put out the show at all.
It's the first.
It's the first game.
It's the first game. It's not going to be.
I really hope
maybe
and
season
I don't think
2.
They're doing the whole story of the first game in the first season. Well, I think it's going to take at least 2 seasons.
They have to introduce her though. They have to introduce her because, like, technically she was there at the end, right?
Right, she was, but she just But
they might. Well, no, they don't have to because you don't. I mean, in the first game, you don't actually see her. It's not until we get the flashbacks in the second game that we know about her role and her being there. So
they did say that they were going to deviate from certain connections.
Yeah,
though.
they did. And that makes me really nervous. They said they're going to deviate greatly from the source material, and I'm like, that makes me very nervous. But
which I'm nervous too.
They're still going to keep a lot of what made it The Last of Us, but even Troy Baker even said, he's like, I want them to do like, I didn't want them to cast somebody who's exactly like Joel was in the game or exactly like I played him. I want somebody who's going to bring something new that I haven't seen to the character and to the story. So I think a deviation is good as long as the deviations are out of respect for what the original meant.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll just see though. I just don't trust Neil Druckmann. You know how it is, Brendan. I've just like with him in charge. I think he's like,
dude, Neil Druckmann has.
Nah, I think he's trying to retcon this franchise. Like I think he's and in a battle. And PJ, you asked a really good question either. Like, why are we okay with that? Like sometimes retcons work, sometimes they don't. I think with part 2 they don't work. But I mean, it is what it is. We'll stick on Star Wars for tonight. But I mean, it's But my long
that
story
makes sense though. Well, sorry, Will. What you're saying about retcons though in Star Wars, retcon is not. I think people have a negative connotation to that automatically, retcon is not necessarily fixing a mistake. All right, because I think that there are things that Rian Johnson did that were risky in The Last Jedi that I don't think were mistakes. I don't think you can point he screwed up there, and now JJ has to fix it. I think the retcons were more. The story that Ryan set forth on, that's not a story that I can tell, like meaning JJ. And this is what I thought we would tell. And this is more the direction that Disney wants to go in now after the backlash with The Last Jedi. So the retconning there is more like that course correction. It's not like flat out saying, well, this was a mistake and now we're going to just nullify it or fix it. So sometimes retcons are necessary. I don't think they're always bad. And I don't think that if they are necessary, that it means that what they're retconning was a screw up to begin with.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. But long story short, I think to summarize this whole live stream, like what I'm loving now, guys, we're all bonding. 4 Star Wars fans bonding over Star Wars. It can happen.
That's
like,
the last thing I want to do with you.
No. Oh, you want to see my feet again, PJ?
No.
That's
This is the last time like Brendan's ever coming on.
Brendan's never coming on again.
I don't want to see your foot funk, man. Like,
are you like? Well, Leao, I know doesn't like feet. He's gonna turn away every time.
No. I don't need to see anybody's barking dogs. Okay,
they're called barking dogs.
Ever, you'll never see me wearing flip flops.
Me and Brendan have this discussion on Messenger every day, bro. Like I mean, every other week,
every
bro.
Day.
We can't talk about feet, bro. It's like feet is just not a thing, bro.
The difference between me and Eddie Murphy and Boomerang, I wouldn't have pulled the sheet back to look. I wouldn't even look.
I'm surprised PJ isn't loving it though. PJ loves all feet. PJ loves all feet, but he doesn't love my feet.
I don't know where you got that from.
I was scarred as a child because
like
my
nice
mother
feet.
has like eagle's claws for feet. So like I was scarred as a child. No, feet. No, I don't need to see that. Like I don't know. I said I'll never wear sandals. Any of that garbage.
Hashtag PJ the feet whisperer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna spit. I'm gonna spit on people's feet.
Yeah, Optical said my feet were sexy in the chat. I saw that. So.
No, he's just.
And that's just a blatant lie because there's no sexy feet on the planet.
He said Will has fat, sexy toes. So
oh no,
I mean, I'm gonna take that as
man. There's no such thing as pretty feet, bro.
No, okay, guys. So Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. I think, like I said, we can disagree, but I think the greatest thing in the world is disagreeing respectfully. Right? It's like as fans, we're all passionate. We all love Star Wars. We all want to see it be successful. We're all happy.
Will.
F you, PJ. My feet are a 10 out of 10. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, but see, that FU is not Star Wars related. It's just in general.
Yeah,
just in general.
Yeah, just in general. Yeah, F you in general. That's what I'll say. F you in general.
You agree with
guys, do you have any final comments on Rise of Skywalker? I think we had a productive discussion tonight. So I really love it, but I understand all the points being made. So, I mean, like I said, we can always respectfully disagree. That's what's great about being a fan. Like, we all are passionate about things. We love it. We don't love it. That's fine. But, we're talking about Star Wars. That's the good thing, right? So,
Toy Fair exclusive. Please give me a dark side ray.
I'm with it.
It's not going to happen. It probably won't happen.
PJ says it's going to happen. I trust him, but
it probably won't. But please give me that.
I would love it too.
Yeah, look, I agree. It might not happen just because I don't know how.
But I want it to. I want it to.
Rise
of Skywalker. Love it, hate it, be anywhere in between, but just don't let that change how you love the rest of Star Wars. You can hate The Rise of Skywalker and still love Star Wars. If you let the hate for that taint the whole Star Wars mythos for you with negativity, then you're only screwing yourself. So love it, hate it, enjoy Star Wars one way or the other.
Yeah, you bring up a good point too. The thing is, look, we can disagree when it comes to Star Wars, but the minute it becomes toxic, that's what I disagree with.
You lose.
Yeah.
The minute that you basically allow that toxicity to actually exist amongst the community and in discussions, and then you start talking about hate and you're trying to damage someone's integrity, that's what I don't appreciate. We can agree to disagree when it comes to the films, and at the end of the day, have a positive discussion and still be cool. But when you let it, if it's toxic and it filters, then I'm sorry, you don't belong here, for real. You don't.
And the terrorists have won.
The terrorists have won, exactly. And I think the one thing with the dark side, I just feel like Rise of Skywalker is not popular enough, and Hot Toys is going to look at that. But what should be popular is what Lane's asking about, Kenobi. It's hard to say how many figures we're going to get. We're obviously getting a Kenobi. We're getting probably a new Vader. We're getting a bunch of Inquisitors. I mean,
yeah.
I think there's definitely going to be some figures. Honestly, guys, just buckle up with your wallets because Star Wars is just going to be pumping out, and Hot Toys is going to be pumping out.
Tune in
Book of Boba,
Star Wars and Marvel.
Tune in tomorrow's discussion because I got a lot to talk about when it comes to that.
My God.
Oh, dude, I can't wait for that.
That was a great video, dude.
I watched your video, dude. It was great.
Dude, that was a great
from the heart, man. I felt it.
Yeah, I felt it too, man. I felt it.
Tune in.
They called you Brandon again, Brendan, but they say you look like an older me.
Everybody, see when
it's the bald thing.
Shit, it's ridiculous. Yeah, no, all my life people have called me Brandon, but then when I was getting 15 years ago, July 1st, it's my wedding anniversary. 15 years ago, when I got married, the Justice of the Peace was trying to calm me down because I guess most grooms are nervous, and I was like, no, I'm fine. He was just asking me asking me stories, anecdotes, and stuff. It's like, oh well, I mean, I've been with my then fiance for years, and she has an aunt Brenda, but my in-laws still screw up and call me Brandon. They can't just add an N to the end of their own family member. And he's like, well, I promise I won't do that. So he didn't, but then he screwed up when we were at when the ceremony started, and he said Brenda. So it turned into a lesbian wedding.
Oh,
and,
okay.
I was like, all right, well, never live that down. That's just been following me for 15 years now.
Can I give you a little advice? You said you were a little nervous. Usually
no, I wasn't. He thought I was, but
okay. I was gonna say beating your meat. Is usually...
no.
See,
it's
a stress reliever, dude. Like when you're
like this, like Thor's hammer, you just beat the meat.
Yeah, dude. What the heck, dude? I mean, when I'm angry, I like beat it like really hard, dude. Like,
hey, yo, wait, hold up, Brendan. You did create.
This is unnecessary. That was just
I'm saying, but you did create it. Bro, when you spank bank, you know what I'm talking about when it comes to that.
Oh yeah, dude.
You said,
oh, dude, I spank is pretty big, dude.
You know what you just? You know what you did? You know what you did? You just took a hammer to my spank bank because all I'm doing is his feet, and so it's gone now. It's gone. It's absolutely just.
Woo! Ooh,
guys,
boy.
Any final thoughts about Rise of Skywalker before we sign off?
No,
no, Brendan.
You know what?
We've said it all.
One final thought. Yes, finally.
PJ, tread carefully.
Talk about The Last of Us.
Oh, we're gonna do Last of Us now.
We can talk about
Should we talk about Game 1 then Game 2, or both at once?
See, I can't be part of that discussion because I know nothing about it.
Do one first, then two.
We can pick another movie.
Yeah, well, we could pick something else, dude. We could pick something else, and we could also do figures.
How about 1989 Batman?
That's good because I gotta watch it. Yeah.
Dude,
oh my god!
If I don't like it, you guys are gonna roast the shit out of me.
You gotta.
I'm sure I'll like it, but
Michael Keaton, bro. Jack Nicholson, bro.
That movie in 4K looks gorgeous.
Dude, and you know what? It ages well. That and Batman Returns.
Okay, but is that Michael Keaton also?
It was Michael Keaton as well.
Yeah,
okay.
It really ages well because it wasn't leaning into any specific kind of like technology or anything.
Yes,
it leaned into a little bit.
It was
of the
practical. It was a lot of practical, but it was just like really high res. It was beautiful, bro.
It leaned into a little bit of the campy the character had.
I remember watching
with a lot of other stuff. It was actually brilliant. So it ages beautifully.
Okay. Dude, I remember watching it in the movie theater, and I was just like,
wait a minute. If you've never seen 89 Batman, that means you never watched Returns?
No, you don't. Oh my god!
Like I said, I grew up on The Dark Knight, Brendan. So the Dark Knight was
as Catwoman.
No, yeah, The Dark Knight. I've seen Halle Berry play basketball as Catwoman. That's about it, though.
That movie was
and Hathaway, obviously.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Like I saw when I was young.
I love me some Halle Berry like everybody else. With that film, they could have shown.
It's straight garbage.
Halle Berry from Boomerang will always be forever in my heart, man.
Michelle Pfeiffer, though. That's
Kylo forever.
Kylo, baby.
Right,
yeah, you've got to follow it up with Returns.
Okay,
yeah, we'll do that. Definitely.
The others,
PJ,
but like those you got to do.
Final thought, PJ. Are you keeping Ray? You selling Ray?
I'm selling Ray.
What? After all that productive discussion we just had, you're not going to keep?
I'll give you $5 and a pack of gum.
Dude, there's so many other. I know there's so many other characters I'd rather get.
There's a lot of heat right now, especially with Iron
Do
Studios.
you have another Ray in your collection?
Hmm?
Do you have another Ray in your collection? Do you have like the Last Jedi one? Or?
No, I don't.
You're not keeping any Ray?
No, I'm just keeping Kylo. I love Kylo.
Rise of Skywalker Kylo?
Oh, yeah.
That Kylo is sick, yeah.
Bro, Ray, though. I mean, the Ray characters, bro, like that Rise of Skywalker, I mean, the Last Jedi Ray is incredible, bro. The head sculpt.
I love the Force Awakens.
The two of them together is what,
it is. It's insane.
If anything, I missed out on that. If I were to pick a Ray, I would definitely get the Last Jedi Ray.
I have it, and I love it.
I just
but I definitely want the Last Jedi.
Yeah, I like the outfit.
Are you displaying Kylo helmeted or unhelmeted?
Helmeted.
I got helmeted too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
hard
tough
for me because I have the Force Awakens one. I have the Force Awakens one helmeted, so I'm kind of thinking like Adam Driver
I like
portrait.
That. See, I like that.
That's a good
It's
figure.
really
Leia.
good.
I like
the
that pose. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Also,
bro.
because of the wraps on the arms, you don't have to worry about elbows and stuff.
Yeah.
So
This new
that's a
Rey,
big
like
thing.
arms by her sides, please, guys. Otherwise, you're gonna destroy her arms.
Oh,
Like,
mine is gonna be kind of like the outstretched.
out. Yeah,
like,
that
with
works
the-
too. Anything
yeah,
straight.
like
Just
that's-
don't bend it. Just don't bend the
Same
arm.
thing with Clone Wars Ahsoka when that comes soon. That's gonna be.
I kind of wish
like,
they'd given us something. You know how they did like with Thanos, Infinity War Thanos, because they gave us an arm that was separate that you could plug
that was
in.
already articulated,
Right.
locked
And
in.
it's plastic. Yeah, like that would have been so much better if they did that with Rey too. I mean, like
You know what I did though?
Yeah.
I don't even know. I should even. Well, no. What I did was I actually ordered. I got a tanned Fison body. I ordered it. I already got it. I got it already. So as soon as that comes, it'll be some changes made because those Fison bodies are incredible. They are.
You swapping out Rey's body?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I'm gonna swap it. I'm gonna do it specific.
I
don't have problems with it.
To swap those.
But you know what? It's easier for that figure. It's easier to swap out the clothing on that figure than it is for anything else. It's kind of easier to do it, because I even attempted to do it with this one, but I didn't have a need to because it's excellent the way it is. Like, I mean, the joints, everything kind of works.
Those Fison bodies, though, are. I mean, like I have a Fison body for my Bane.
Yeah.
And so seamless elbows and stuff, and it looks. I think it looks better than the OG Hot Toys one.
It looks amazing.
So I absolutely love that. That's why I'm actually hopeful that Sideshow can move forward with figures with bodies that don't suck because they're using Fison bodies. I'm hopeful because like these, I mean they make such weird decisions to me. Like going back to when they put out more of the Mythos Vet and they went to single jointed elbows.
Yeah.
Why? Like it just makes no sense to me. I don't know why they're backtracking on stuff like that. They shoot themselves in the foot because they do things that people are like, oh, this is going to be cool. Like, hey, General Grievous, but we're just going to give you a slightly improved cape. We're not going to do anything else with that like mess of a stand or any other stuff. It's like they make these just baffling decisions, and it's like they could. With their setup and their licensing, they could really make an impact in the 6-scale game.
I'm hoping they do it with the prequels. If they do it with the actual Clone Wars figures that they're doing, I'm hoping that they do it with that because it looks amazing.
If they don't do a Cad Bane, I don't understand what's going on because they already have the Cad Bane head sculpt because they put out a Cad Bane in the Clone Trooper armor back in the day. So. Yeah, that should be an easy one for them to put out. Like the two that to me, it's just like 100% after Anakin and Obi-Wan is Cad Bane and Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Why not? Because those are the two that people want, and Cad Bane is the one that you have the assets for already. So those have to be coming down the pipeline. They have to be.
They should. They sure do.
I mean,
guys, we're gonna have to talk about this more. But like I said, Rise Skywalker, we're putting the pin in it. We got the sequel trilogy under wraps. PJ can move past.
Give it 4 stars.
No more PTSD for PJ. He's good now.
Thank you.
He feels great. He can move on. He can talk about Last of Us 2 and Abby now. Batman 89.
Woosah.
Like I can't wait. Honestly, like Last of Us 1, we're all gonna talk about, and then also like for example, like Batman 89. I'm sure I'll probably like it. With something where we can all agree and just love something. Where we don't have to be like, well, half of us like it and half of us hate it. So,
dude, now I'm gonna have to go back and play the remaster of The Last of Us before we.
Part 1, yeah.
Yeah, but I've been holding off on doing that because the word is that they're actually working on a full remake of the first game.
It. Yeah.
Which makes sense because you want to line up. But that also makes me curious as to how different will that be from the original game if they're trying to kind of line that in more with the changes that they're going to make of the new show. Like, is it going to be a straight remake with just like improvements, or is it going to be like they're actually going to make a lot of changes? So I feel like now
I think it's going to be the latter, which I'm nervous about. But
now I'm going to have to get this damn game and play.
I know, Leo. But guys,
I can't wait to rewatch that scene on YouTube or something.
Don't do it.
Well, if you do what I tell you, if you just get the PlayStation Plus subscription, The Last of Us game is free. The first game remastered is free. I'm saving you money.
Yeah, and then we can play like dodgeball stuff, like Brendan and other stuff.
Dude, the dodgeball game is crazy. Knockout City, do it. I'm telling you.
All right, guys. That's a wrap for tonight. Final thoughts before we go. Anything else?
No.
PJ, you good, man? You feeling better?
Absolutely, dude.
PJ, oh no, because PJ always looks sad after these discussions.
He's like, I don't want to relive this pain.
Honestly, PJ, you look like somebody just kicked your puppy.
Yeah,
you look like somebody just left.
I look like I got kicked on balls. That's how I look like.
All right, guys.
Looks so sad.
Peace out. PJ's gonna be happy. I promise. He'll look at some feet tonight.
Okay.